Those of us online can't hear a word.
No, we can't. We did before. Now I can't hear anything as the saviour. Sorry.
It looks like you're muted, Mark.
You can hear it now.
Excuse me, did you say muted or muted?
The bailiff's muted as well.
We are live. That.
stuff out for a long time. So we can do it on demand, but the order papers are all. Have we got some? If anyone online can actually hear me speak, could you let me know
Yes.
through the chat?
We can hear you.
Yep, can hear you.
Mark, I can hear you now.
Yes.
We can hear you.
Yeah,
So
we can hear you. And
can,
we're
can
all
I ask,
very
can I ask everybody? Can I ask everyone to pay attention, firstly, and secondly, to be quiet because we are live. So we are going to restart the meeting in a second by bringing the bailiff back in, as if the start we attempted previously had never happened, which from your point of view, it never did. So give us a moment and we will be there.
Baby.
Faites l'appel, s'il vous plaît, monsieur le greffier.
Monsieur le Senator Gorst,
Présent.
Monsieur le Senator Farnham,
Présent.
Madame le Senator Ferguson, Monsieur le Senator Lafondre, Madame le Senator Valois,
Present.
Madame le Senator Moore,
Present.
Monsieur le Senator Pallet,
Présent.
Monsieur le Senator Mezek, Monsieur le Connétable de Saint-Hélier,
Présent.
Monsieur le Connétable de Saint-Clément,
Présent.
Madame le Connétable de Saint-Laurent,
Present.
Madame le Connétable de Saint-Sauveur,
Present.
Monsieur le Connétable de Saint-Brelade,
Présent.
Monsieur le Connétable de Griville,
Présent.
Monsieur le Connétable de Saint-Jean,
Présent.
Monsieur le Connétable de la Trinité, Monsieur le Connétable de Saint-Pierre,
Présent.
Monsieur le Connétable de Sainte-Marie,
Présent.
Monsieur le Connétable de Saint-Ouen,
Present.
Madame le Connétable de Saint-Martin,
Present.
Madame le Deputy Martin,
Present.
Monsieur le Deputy Southern,
Présent.
Madame le Deputy de Greville,
Present.
Monsieur le Deputy Lewis,
Présent.
Monsieur le Deputy Tadier,
Présent.
Monsieur le Deputy Higgins,
Présent.
Monsieur le Deputy Masson,
Présent.
Madame le Deputy Pinel,
Present.
Monsieur le Deputy de Saint-Martin,
Présent.
Monsieur le Deputy de Saint-Ouen,
Présent.
Madame le Deputy Doublé,
Present.
Monsieur le Deputy Labby,
Présent.
Monsieur le Deputy Wickenden,
Présent.
Monsieur le Deputy de Sainte-Marie,
Présent.
Monsieur le Deputy Truscott,
Présent.
Monsieur le Deputy Young,
Présent.
Monsieur le Deputy Ash,
Présent.
Monsieur le Deputy Morel,
Présent.
Monsieur le Deputy Guida,
Présent.
Monsieur le Deputy de Saint-Pierre,
Présent.
Monsieur le Deputy de la Trinité,
Présent.
Monsieur le Deputy de Saint-Jean,
Présent.
Madame le Deputy Lahegra,
Present.
Monsieur le Deputy Aye,
Présent.
Madame le Deputy Pershard,
Present.
Monsieur le Deputy Ward,
Présent.
Madame le Deputy Alves, Monsieur le Deputy Pamplin,
Présent.
Madame le Deputy Gardner.
Present.
Monsieur le doyen.
Notre aide soit au nom de Dieu qui a fait le ciel et la terre. Amen. Seigneur Dieu, Père éternel et tout-puissant, qui a établi le gouvernement et la puissance de la terre, pour le règlement et pour la conduite du peuple, et qui nous a commandé d'avoir toujours pour but la gloire de ton saint nom. Nous te prions qu'il te plaise de donner à cette assemblée le don de conseil et de prudence, d'unir les cœurs et les affections de tous ceux qui la composent, et de les conduire tellement toi-même par ton Saint-Esprit que toute leur délibération est accompagnée de la bénédiction. Réussisse au bien et au soulagement du peuple qu'il te plut de commettre à le soin. Quand nous t'en prions, un nom et par les mérites de ton Fils bien-aimé Jésus-Christ, notre Seigneur, qui nous a enseigné de t'invoquer en disant: Notre Père, qui es aux cieux, ton nom soit sanctifié, ton règne vienne, ta volonté soit faite dans la terre comme au ciel. Donne-nous aujourd'hui notre pain quotidien, et nous pardonnons nos offenses, comme nous pardonnons à ceux qui nous ont offensés. Et ne nous envoie pas en tentation, mais délivre-nous du mal. Car à toi la reine, la puissance et la gloire, au siècle des siècles. Amen.
Madame Senator Ferguson. Je dirais que Madame Senator Ferguson est tellement indisposée qu'elle ne peut pas assister à ta son exposé sa santé. Monsieur le Sénateur Mezek.
Présent.
Monsieur le Connétable de la Trinité.
Excusez.
Madame la Deputy Alves.
Excusez.
Les états sont nombreux, Monsieur le Président.
Les États sont constitués. Could I start by welcoming members back into the Assembly at this, the first tranche of a hybrid sitting, so styled, which is part of our journey back to hopefully normality in the not too distant future. It is experimental, and I dare say we will progress in stages, and sometimes there may be one or two setbacks which will cause breaks up in the sitting, but I hope that members, in fact I know that members will bear with us whilst we try and make this work. I therefore want to thank both PPC for their efforts in this regard, but also the greffier and his team and the IT individuals who are here, who have worked so hard and are continuing to work so hard to make this work. So I thank them on members' behalf. Now, as members may have noticed, a former member of the Assembly passed away recently. Mac Pollard was first elected as the Connétable of St. Peter in February 1992, being re-elected in 1995 and for the last time in May of 1998. He became Vice Chairman of the Comité des Connétables in February 2000 and was then elected Chairman in September of that year. His honorary service to his parish spanned a period of 21 years, during which he only missed 3 police meetings. Over the years, he served on many committees, perhaps the most memorable for him being Sport, Leisure and Recreation, and the Gambling Control Committee and the Prison Board, all of which he served virtually throughout his career in the Assembly, the latter being particularly close to his heart. He also served on the Tourism Committee for 2 terms and the Committee of Inquiry into the circumstances surrounding the release of the former Chief Officer of Sport, Leisure and Recreation, and indeed the House Committee. His most proud achievement in the Assembly was persuading the Assembly on the 8th of June 1993, just over a year into his first term of office, to approve the introduction of green lanes for the benefit of both residents and visitors alike. His parish was the first, indeed, to designate certain lanes as green lanes and introduce a 15-mile-per-hour speed limit to enable pedestrians and cyclists to enjoy the countryside in safety. He retired from the Assembly in June of 2001 and was able then to dedicate his time to some of his other passions, such as commentating at island cattle shows, judging budgerigars and canaries, and tending his horses and sheep. I ask members to stand for 1 minute's silence in his memory. May he rest in peace. There are a number of subordinate enactments under B, and a number of matters have been presented or laid as described in the consolidated order paper under section C. The following matters have been lodged under section D. Senators and deputies, removal of citizen requirement, P75, Third Amendment, lodged by Senator Gorst. Mobile speed cameras, P91, amendment lodged by the Connétable St. John. Foreshore policy for alleged encroachment payments, P101, amendment lodged by the Minister for Infrastructure. States meetings in 2021, moved to a 3-week cycle, P106, second amendment lodged by Deputy Masson. Draft Wildlife Jersey Law, P110, lodged by the Minister for the Environment. Encroachments on the foreshore revised policy, P111, lodged by the Minister for Infrastructure. Draft Shops Regulations of Opening Amendment, General Practitioners, Surgeries and Pharmacies Regulations, P112, lodged by the Minister for Economic Development, Tourism, Sport and Culture. And the Draft Social Security Amendment of Law Number 13, Regulations, P113, lodged by the Minister for Social Security. We now, under F, have appointment of committees and panels, and there's a nomination of the Deputy of St. Martin and Deputy Gardner as members of the Economic and International Affairs Scrutiny Panel. Deputy Morell.
Thank you, sir. I would be pleased to nominate both Deputy Gardner and Deputy of St. Martin as members of the Economic and International Affairs Scrutiny Panel. Both have strong interest in the area and have either business experience or, in the case of Deputy of St. Martin, also has worked in this area previously. And so I certainly recommend them, and they will take the membership of the panel up to the maximum of 6.
Are those nominations seconded?
Yes, sir. Sir.
Are there any other nominations? I therefore declare that the Deputy of St. Martin and Deputy Gardner have been appointed as members of the Economic and International Affairs Scrutiny Panel. There are no matters under G or H. There are answers tendered to written questions which have been provided to members and which I do not read out. And we now come to...
So, excuse me, I wonder if I may raise Article 12 of the Standing Orders regards written question 332/2020. I think it may well be an error. I put it in the chat. I think it may be a simple one to adjudicate on. I wonder if you would take some time. Thank you, sir.
Yes, in which case I will consider that over the next break and indicate my answer as soon as I'm able to do so, Deputy.
So I wonder if you could ask the deputy to explain what his concern is about the response. I'm more than happy to provide a fuller response if that's the case.
Yes, sir. On the website, the response to the question, what action is Jersey International standing in Brexit legislation? The answer is there are no plans to demolish the school. So there are no funds currently earmarked. I think it may be an error. Thank you, sir.
It's a mistake, Barry.
Right.
Sounds like a clerical
My
error.
understanding, Deputy, is that there's been a mistake and that can be relatively quickly put right.
Okay, thank you, sir. Obviously, that's the only reference we have because we don't read out the written questions now. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much indeed. Very well. We now come on to oral questions. And the first is a question for the Minister of External Relations from Deputy Pamplin. Minister, Deputy.
Not yet, but thank you, sir. So what discussions, if any, has the Minister had with the UK government about access to fishing waters around Jersey after the end of the transition period following the UK's departure from the European Union? Thank you.
Minister.
Thank you, sir. Ministers and officials are in continual dialogue with their counterparts in the United Kingdom government on this important subject. Whilst not attempting, of course, to second guess the purpose of the Deputy's question, I can confirm, as I did publicly last week, that it is not possible for the United Kingdom government to offer rights or access to Jersey's territorial waters as part of negotiations with the European Union without our express consent and agreement. Jersey has autonomy over such matters, and I reconfirm the statement of the Environment Minister that Jersey will not be ceding control of its territorial waters.
Supplementary, Deputy.
Yes, thank you, and I thank the Minister for his answer. Yes, he's of course correct. This is in response to the national news headlines that prompted my question. And since then, has the Minister reiterated his points that he's made in Assembly today to those representatives in the UK on our behalf, leading those negotiations? Thank you, sir.
Indeed, I have, as have officials.
Very well. We now come to question 2 that Deputy Ward will ask of the Chair of the State's Employment Board. Deputy.
Thank you, sir. May I ask what data, if any, is collected regarding cases of racial abuse in the workplace across the states of Jersey, and how is any such data used to develop policy regarding how racism is dealt with in the workplace? Thank you, sir.
Chair.
Sir, Constable St1 has taken this one. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Constable.
Thank you, sir. Can I hear me clearly?
Yes.
Thank you. So the government of Jersey does collect data about alleged racial discrimination cases, and this data is used to inform our HR policy and practice. And indeed, it is picked out in 3 policies at the moment. Our bullying and harassment policy has a specific section relating to it. We have a code of practice for equality and diversity and a statement of practice. Over the last 12 months, there have been 2 cases of alleged racial discrimination raised. And due to the very low number and in order to protect confidentiality, there's only certain information I can share, but I can say that complaint 1 was investigated and allegations of racial discrimination were not upheld. And the second complaint is in very early stages and is still being investigated.
Very well. Supplementary, Deputy?
Yes, sir. Thank you. So may I ask the Assistant Chief Minister whether there was consultation with groups that represent minorities and those who face direct racism on the island in order to develop in policy so that perhaps a truer picture can be gained of the extent of problems that may exist in the workforce?
Assistant Minister.
Yes, I thank Jeff for his question. I'm not able to provide him an instant answer to that question. I'm aware that we have some external consultation, but I'm able to get back to him with an answer for, within the next week or so.
Do you have a question, Deputy Doublé? Yes, Deputy Doublé.
Thank you, sir. I understand the question is about racial abuse, which is perhaps quite an extreme occurrence in the workplace. Is there anything that is done to collect information on perhaps smaller, I think microaggressions is the term, and there might be behaviours that are due to unconscious bias that people are not doing intentionally? Is there any work being done to perhaps hold focus groups or consult with people who are members of an ethnic minority, just to find out what their experiences are in the workplace?
Yes, Jen.
We don't. There's no specific groupings set up to look into that, but we do have a number of. We have a helpline where people can call in anonymously with complaints, and they are quite diverse in nature. But I take the deputy's point, and I'll try and get back to him with some more information on that point.
It's Deputy Gardner.
Thank you, sir. My question has been asked by Deputy Dublin.
Yes. Before I call on the next, Deputy Taddy is to speak next, was to ask a question next. I'm unable to indicate on my screen when I have acknowledged that someone's asked a question. I'm afraid the icons are just blank, and I can't do the usual thing of indicating that I've noted. So that's why they're not appearing at the moment. Deputy Taddy.
Thank you, sir. Does the Assistant Minister support the idea of an Equalities Commission for Jersey that could oversee the development and implementation of discrimination and human rights legislation in the islands?
So I'm not entirely sure whether that question's directed me personally or as Deputy Chair of the SEB. Perhaps the Deputy could clarify that.
It could only be directed to you as Deputy Chair of the SEB. Yeah.
Well, the SEB would support any process or committee in the island that would help highlight racial discrimination. We take it very seriously. I mean, clearly there are racial discrimination laws, as the Deputy well knows, and we have developed our own policies from that. But anything that happens that improves the position in terms of racial discrimination is to be applauded by the SEB.
Very well. Final supplementary, Deputy Ward.
Thank you, sir. And say thank you to Deputy Dublé for raising a very key point. And she's right, sir. May I ask the Assistant Minister, will he take on board the fact that dealing with issues before a complaint needs to be made are one of the key factors to cultural change in our workplace? And has Team Jersey, which is has a role in cultural change in the workplace, is part of their remit to address issues of racism, whatever, before they have to be dealt with complaints? And if not, why not? Thank you, sir.
Joe.
So the Deputy is entirely correct. Racism in the workplace is completely unacceptable and is a core part of Team Jersey's ethos, and it will become part of the state's culture as and when that's developed by Team Jersey.
Okay. Very well. Thank you very much. We now come to question 3. The Deputy of St Mary will ask of the Minister for Health and Social Services. Deputy.
Thank you, sir. Will the Minister advise whether there are any plans to review the present restrictions applicable to the gathering of choirs and singers on the basis that by using large spaces, proper ventilation, shorter rehearsal periods, strict hygiene protocols and distancing, small groups of singers could potentially rehearse with very little risk? And if not, why not? Thanks.
Minister.
Thank you, sir. We've already made changes to guidance at level 1 to support children's music education, and at the end of last week, with the support of the Education Minister, I also tasked officers to work with colleagues in education to develop a way to safely allow singing in early years, and also in primary school-aged children, recognising the important role that it plays in learning and development in young children. As with all areas, the public health team continues to review emerging research and modify the guidance where it is felt appropriate to do so, taking account of the current infection rates both on island and in our close neighbours. The UK Scientific Advisory Group, SAGE, completed a review of current research on singing on the 4th of September and provided a series of recommendations. We are considering those recommendations and have commenced a review of our guidance to identify potential ways of easing the existing restrictions on singing in the lowest risk scenarios. So, as per the SAGE recommendations, a variety of factors to mitigate the spread of infection will be considered, and we will be engaging with choirs, music schools and others who have contacted us, and that work is going on right now. Thank you, sir.
Deputy Doublet.
Supplementary, please, sir.
Yes, very well, supplementary.
Thank you, sir. I thank the Minister for his reply, and I note the discussions going on with children and schools. My real concern was in respect of the adult population, where there are small groups of singers who are effectively prevented from even meeting. Could he ensure, please, that that further review does proceed apace? Otherwise, we are in danger of losing these choirs. Thank you, sir.
Minister.
So yes, I understand the point made by the deputy, and we will engage with those choirs, and we are now considering how singing might be permitted in the case of adults and not solely children. Thank you, sir.
Deputy Doublet.
Thank you, sir. And I do want to thank the Minister and his officers and the Education Minister and her officers who met with myself and campaigners in this area at the end of last week, and we have made some progress, as the Minister referred to, in terms of allowing singing in early years and primary school. Would the Minister agree to prioritise children in secondary schools and find a way that they can access singing and music lessons? I'm of the view that it doesn't need a review to do this, and the same protocols could be followed that are being followed with early years and primary. So would the Minister agree to this, please, recognising that music is important to older children as well as younger children?
So I recognise the developmental aspects of singing. I won't at this stage say I'm prioritising children over adults. I think we can look at the whole community together and look at how SAGE has come forward with its recommendations in the UK and apply those to our Jersey situation in the case of older children and adults, I think, together. Thank you, sir.
Supplementary, please, sir.
Yes, Deputy.
Would the Minister also agree to ensure that research on the benefits of singing, the physical and mental benefits, including benefits to the immune system, that all of those pieces of research are taken into account, and that singing is recognised as being an essential activity, not just a nice to have?
So that case has been very well made by the Deputy and others who've contacted us. We recognise the beneficial and therapeutic effects very often. And if the Deputy has further studies that she wishes to present to the public health team, we'd be pleased to receive them.
Deputy Ward.
Thank you, sir. May I ask the Minister, does the Minister believe that music from bands using amplification provides the same dangers as large choirs?
That's a technical issue, sir. I wouldn't want to give a firm opinion on that, because within the SAGE recommendations there are a variety of factors which should be considered, including amplification, including limiting the length of the activity, the size of the room, the ventilation of the room is also very important, as well as the physical numbers involved in playing in the band or the audience surrounding them. So there are a number of factors, and that will be just one. I can't at the moment prioritise one above the other.
Supplementary, sir?
Yes, Deputy.
Just to ask the Minister, sir, whether he feels that perhaps there could be a little more clarity given, and it's summed up a little simpler for those who are thinking of trying to get live music back on the stage, given the complexity of the answer that he's just given. Is there a way of making that a simplified set of guidelines for people?
Very happy to consider that, sir. And of course, it's important that guidance should be as clear as possible, but then there are very many scenarios in which people may wish to sing. So, for example, in a nighttime venue, it may be problematic for a group to be playing in an enclosed environment and have their music amplified, because that would generally mean that if people are talking and drinking at the same time, they will be talking loudly or shouting. But if it's a concert hall, that may well be different, because generally an audience is there to listen to that music and can be well physically distant. So, the context has to be considered. But the question of amplification is part of the scenarios that we'll be considering. Thank you.
Well, I've got Deputy Tadier, then Deputy Morell, and then Deputy Higgins, then final supplementary. Deputy Tadier.
Thanks, sir. On the government's own website, when it comes to talking about singing wind and brass instruments, the words used are strongly discouraged, and there's also talk about it being particularly important to implement these when music is in an indoor setting. Could the minister, and it talks about being advised as well, does the minister, can the minister state whether he thinks that actually there should be some kind of compulsion rather than just advice? And does he need to bring more clarity to groups when considering these issues?
So I'm not sure what the deputy might envisage by compulsion. So at the moment, the deputy is right. The guidance is as he has said, and that recognises the real risks there are. Singing has been identified as one of the major vectors of the spread of the disease. But if sufficient and adequate precautions are taken, the risks can be mitigated, and it's that work that we are doing now, considering very significantly the SAGE advice in the UK. I think that's all I can say on that at the moment.
So supplementary, does the minister agree that because there's a lot of room for manoeuvre within the guidance and there's no compulsion under law either way, and there's very little clear advice, some music providers, would-be music providers, have put a blanket ban on things like having live music at all, even where there's no wind, singing or brass instruments involved? That even this week there's been a suggestion, a directive that busking should be banned, even though that doesn't seem to have been done in a joined up fashion. So would the minister consider issuing more detailed guidelines, but in conjunction with talking to his ministerial colleagues who have a responsibility at culture for this issue?
Yes, sir, I will talk with colleagues, and they are welcome to contribute, as is any states member and those with an interest in the subject. And the guidance will be more detailed, because we've seen that happen in the UK, and I consider that we will be trying to adapt those mitigations to our situation in Jersey.
Deputy Morell.
Thank you, sir. And would the minister explain whether new guidance, well, first of all, would the minister give a timeline for when new guidance is expected to come out with regard to singing and playing instruments? Would you also accept that current guidance prevents brass bands, marching bands and players of wind instruments from actually even rehearsing? And will he ensure that guidance is brought out which enables rehearsals to take place as soon as possible before these and again, find it impossible to carry on.
Minister.
Sir, I can't undertake that the guidance will enable certain activities because this study is going on at the moment, and we will consult with bands and other groups as to exactly what is safe. And at the end of the day, we will be guided by the medical opinion. I'm sorry, I've forgotten the first part of the deputy's question.
I'll use it as a supplementary. And do you have a timeline for when you expect this guidance to be published?
We're working on it at the moment. We recognise that this is a concern to many people, so we're doing that as quickly as possible. But no, it would be wrong to give a precise date because that would rush things, perhaps when we haven't consulted as we should be. We want to get that consultation in, but still as quickly as possible introduce the mitigating factors.
Well, Deputy Higgins has indicated he no longer wishes to ask a question. Deputy Gardner wishes to ask one. Deputy Gardner.
Thank you, sir. Live music, including karaoke, is permitted.
Sorry. Thank you, sir. Live music, including karaoke, is permitted within strict guidelines, including low noise level only, where audience are seated and able to have normal conversation. All music is safe outdoors. Why is karaoke still permitted but not choirs?
Karaoke, yes. So I'm not sure if karaoke is permissible if it is amplified. And again, it might depend on the context and the venue. That's a detail. If the deputy would like to discuss it with me or the team outside of the sitting, I'll be happy to try and explore any specific instances where she has concerns.
I think it is within the guidelines and it would be good to discuss this.
Final supplementary, Deputy St Mary.
Thank you, sir. I thank the Minister for his replies to various questions. I appreciate he said he's not able to give a precise timeline at the moment, but given that the present rules are such that it appears that some choirs are ignoring them completely, does he recognise that there is an element of urgency? And in drafting those guidelines, will he take account of the fact that Jersey's situation is not the same as that in the UK, and that accordingly there may not, some greater relaxation might be appropriate? Thank you, sir.
Minister.
Sir, I do recognise the urgency. I'm regularly contacted, as are other ministers and members of the team, by those who wish to see some relaxation of the guidance. So we are working as quickly as we can to get this in place. I'd be cautious about saying that we can relax because we're not affected in the same way as the UK. The risks are the same whether in the UK or here, and I wouldn't want singing to be so relaxed that it runs the greater risk of introducing infection. So it's finding that balance and recognizing the therapeutic effects of singing and the pleasure it gives to so many people, but also balancing it against the risks of spread of infection. So we're working on that very hard. Thank you, sir.
Very well. We come to question 4. The Deputy Gardner will ask the Chief Minister. Deputy.
Thank you, sir. Will the Chief Minister update members on the preparations for undertaking a census in 2021?
Chief Minister.
Thank you, sir. Statistics Jersey have been working on the 2021 census since the beginning of this year. They do remain on track to conduct the census on the preferred date of the 21st of March 2021. This, of course, remains contingent. Sir, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, sir. There's getting some background noise. This, of course, remains contingent on the States Assembly passing an Appointed Day Act, confirming this date as Census Day. And the Appointed Day Act is in the process of being lodged, sir, and we envisage it coming before the States Assembly in November. Preparations including at the moment, sir, finalisation of the questionnaire, any legal issues, method of census delivery and return, verification of the sample frame, i.e. household in the island, and data handling preparations. They're all in progress and are on schedule, sir, I'm informed. Thank you.
Have a supplementary, Deputy?
Thank you, sir. As good the preparations are on the way, would the Chief Minister consider to bring census forward, which will allow to incorporate updated population information in the island plan, migration policy, and any post-COVID economic recovery strategy?
Sir, if I understood the question correctly, that was, would I consider bringing it forward? I think the issue, sir, is that there's a lot of work involved in the preparation of the census, and obviously it is done by Statistics Jersey, who, as we know, are also independent. I rather suspect, sir, that bringing it forward would cause an awful lot of difficulties, because I rather suspect that the volume of work that's required to get everything in place, I believe there's training required of the various volunteers that help, etc., would be exceptionally difficult, particularly at a time of COVID, sir.
Very well, Deputy Higgins.
Thank you, sir. Could I ask the Chief Minister, has the question plan for the census been determined, or is it still capable of being amended? Thank you.
So I'm not entirely cited on that. I have seen some indications that the question plan is in the process of being finalised, sir, and obviously again that's been put together. I believe there's been some consultation, etc. I'm very happy to get an update for the deputy and come back to him. I might also ask if you'd let me know, well, not necessarily as part of this question, if he's got any specific references in mind. I can obviously then investigate. I suspect, because I suspect things have been planned for quite a long time, that it is very much in the final stages of finalisation, sir.
I'd like to thank the Minister for his answer, and I will speak with him offline just to see if there's a possibility of some additional questions. Thank you.
Deputy Morell.
Thank you, sir. This follows from, obviously, from Deputy Gardner's question, but would the Chief Minister confirm that the census is not in danger of being deferred or pushed back due to cuts related to needing to rebalance finances and COVID-19, and that it will go ahead in March as planned?
Certainly, as of today, there is no indication that the census is going to be delayed. Certainly not because of cuts, sir. It is in the funding that members also see fairly shortly in relation to the government plan. Obviously, sir, there are other events that overtake us, which would be COVID-related, I would suspect. Then that would be something in the future. But at the moment, sir, it is on track and scheduled for the date I've given, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Well, final supplementary, Deputy Gardner.
Thank you, sir. Apologize if I missed it in the first answer. What considerations have been given and preparation have been made to perform coming census in digital form and not the paper one?
Sir, this is obviously quite a technical area, but I rather suspect, sir, that it is the nature of the census is very much dependent on making sure that households are present, and therefore I suspect that this time round it is digital. There is a point, sir, that I believe it's going to be used to correlate, sir, the existing numbers that we have, for example, on the population calculations, and therefore will facilitate moving to an e-census in the future, sir. But at the moment, I believe, sir, that this is going to be a manual census. What I will do, sir, is that when the appointed act is arranged, is ready to go, I will. Sorry, so I was getting some feedback on the speaker. I will arrange for a briefing for members so they know the whole mechanism behind the census, and I'm sure the Chief Statistician would be delighted to provide that, sir.
Thank you very much. We now come to question 5 that Deputy Pershall will ask of the Minister for Infrastructure. Deputy.
Thank you, sir. Will the Minister advise what provision, if any, is made in terms of parking spaces or areas designated for use by pregnant women?
Minister.
Thank you, sir. Jersey Car Parks attempts to assist all its customers wherever possible and have for some time now had parent-child parking bays to assist with manoeuvring young children in and out of the cars, which we know can be problematic. It's also recognised that sometimes pregnant women do need a little extra help, particularly during the latter stages when mobility can be an issue. Thus, Jersey Car Parks has informally long allowed heavily pregnant women to use the parent and child bays by arrangement to assist when entering and exiting the vehicles. Of course, there are limited numbers of these spaces, so in order to avoid disadvantaging other users, a sensible discretion is required by customers wishing to access these spaces. Thanks, sir.
Supplementary, Deputy.
Yes, sir. Could the Minister outline what he means by arrangement and just clarify for any listeners how such arrangements can be made?
Minister.
Yes, indeed, sir. A telephone call to the office will suffice, or to pop in. If anybody has special needs, for instance, a heavily pregnant woman, or indeed if it's an adult with an adult child, for instance, or somebody with mobility problems, just pop into the office or give the office a ring and arrangements will be made, sir.
Very much. Deputy Doublé.
Thank you, sir. Would the Minister consider the use of signage around these spaces to indicate to pregnant women that they can use these spaces? Because my concern is that women might not be aware that they can use them and then would be getting into difficulties when actually, if the space is there available, indicating to them that they can use it would be helpful.
Rather not, sir, because we started off with the mother and child bays, and it was pointed out it could be the male parents, so parent and child. It could be grandparents and children, and as we've just said, with heavily pregnant ladies. So I don't want to be overburdened with signage. I'd rather that common sense prevailed, and we just made arrangements for anybody who has any special requirements, sir.
Supplementary, please, sir.
Yes, Deputy.
How does the Minister propose to inform pregnant women that this facility is available, please?
I'd say it's been operating informally for some time, and it is quite widely known, and the Deputy is publicising it even more now, so more heavily pregnant women can take advantage of this. But I say it's been operating informally for some time.
Deputy St Mary.
Thank you, sir. At a time when my wife was producing children, there was a facility whereby pregnant women were granted temporary permits to use disabled spaces, which was also available to people with recent injuries. I understand that procedure was stopped because of abuse. Is there any prospect of it being introduced? Thank you, sir.
Minister. Disability permits, sir, are in fact authorised by the person's doctor. So that's not something that directly affects parking controls. Sir.
Final supplementary, Deputy Pershall.
Thank you, sir. I would argue that the Minister is mistaken in his view that this is widely known, for this question itself came to me directly from a member of the public who was worried about being able to park during pregnancy. So I would like to repeat Deputy Doublé's question. How will the Minister ensure that women who are pregnant, either heavily or who are suffering severe symptoms that would make it much easier for them if they could park quickly and easily, are aware that they're able to use those spaces, because they're not currently aware, and that's clear from the contact we've had from the public.
So more than happy to publicise that more, sir. But I say it's been operating informally, but as I say, it's such a, anybody with any special requirements, be it pregnancy or otherwise, can contact the office and arrangements will be made, sir.
Very well. We come now to question 6. The Deputy Morel will ask the Minister for Economic Development, Tourism, Sport and Culture. Deputy.
Thank you, sir. Will the Minister explain why the contract to undertake a cybersecurity national risk assessment survey was awarded to an off-island supplier? And can he confirm how many island-based suppliers, if any, tendered or expressed an interest in the contract?
Minister.
Thank you, sir. The portal for tenders was opened on the 16th of September 2019 and closed on the 7th of October 2019. The government followed the procurement process and put the project out to tender in line with the rigorous guidelines set out in the government's procurement best practice procedures. All tenders submitted were reviewed in accordance with predetermined contract award criteria and the most economically advantageous tender criteria. A total of 11 tenders were received, 7 from UK-based companies and 4 were from local firms. The contract was awarded on a balance of technical ability, value for money, and expertise and experience that the successful company brought to the project. So feedback was given to the unsuccessful companies, and the successful company so was informed on the 16th of October of 2019.
Supplemental, Deputy.
Yes, please. Thank you, sir. Does the Minister think it appropriate, and was he aware that the survey would involve the UK supplier using the project as a direct marketing opportunity to win business and take it away from island firms?
I think the Deputy, I hope the Deputy will know, sir, that I have been a champion of supporting local businesses as much as possible, and I hope that we can improve the involvement of local companies in contracts, sir, that do often involve high levels of expertise, and unfortunately those levels of expertise aren't always available on island, and that's why education and skills development are going to be so important in the economic recovery programme. So I do think it is disappointing. I would like to see local firms used for all of our contracts over here, but that's just not realistic, sir, given the high technical nature of some of them. So yes, I accept the Deputy's point, and I regret that a local company wasn't chosen on this occasion, although I have full confidence in the procedure, and I believe that the right company was chosen for this project.
Very much. We then come to question 7. The Connie St Helier will ask the Minister for Treasury and Resources. Connie Top.
Thank you, sir. Will the Minister confirm that the state's decision to adopt P40 2019 will be honoured, and 1% of overall state's revenue expenditure will therefore be allocated to the arts, heritage and culture by 2022, and if not, why not?
Minister.
Thank you, sir. In the current circumstances, the government plan has involved a lot of difficult decisions to ensure that we're on the right path, part of our response to COVID-19. This does involve managing costs and expenditure in a number of areas, and culture, arts and heritage are not excluded from this. We support the arts and respect the state's decision, but as a government, we have to make difficult decisions in the interests of Jersey. That is what we are doing, and the whole package, as in the government plan, will be lodged on the 12th of October. Thank you, sir.
Supplementary, please, sir. Could the Minister therefore say what a percentage will be allocated if she's not planning to honour the state's decision?
Thank you, sir. I can't at this stage because it's part of the government plan, and the figures and finances, costs and expenditures are all part of the whole plan, which, as I said in my first answer, will be lodged on the 12th of October.
Deputy Ward.
Thank you, sir. Following on from the answer for that question, where his current circumstances was used, can I ask the Minister, does this mean that propositions that were voted on in this Assembly we can expect to be habitually ignored in the coming weeks and months? Thank you, sir.
No, sir. In answer to that, P40 2019, which is the proposition in question, was in the previous government plan. But as the Deputy and the Conotable will be aware, circumstances have changed considerably. And it's not a matter of ignoring these propositions. It's a matter of every department and area having to adhere to the different circumstances that we find ourselves in from when the proposition was agreed by the Assembly.
So supplementary?
Yes, Deputy.
So can the Minister explain the mechanism then for not following propositions voted on democratically in this Assembly? And is that mechanism via the Council of Ministers, via unelected officials? Because I think the Assembly needs some clarity if propositions are not to be adhered to. Thank you, sir.
Well, as I said, so in my last answer, the propositions are not being ignored, or obviously I understand it's agreed by the Assembly, they're not being ignored, but we are in very different circumstances than we were in 2019, and adjustments have to be made to deal with the current circumstances, and that's across the board.
Deputy Morell.
Thank you, sir. Following on from Deputy Ward's question, would the Minister, if in the government plan the Minister intends not to honour P42, I believe it was 2019, will the Minister adopt proper procedure and bring a proposition to the Assembly to rescind that state's decision, as that would be the only suitable way to provide the Minister of the Treasury with freedom to ignore that proposition? Thank you, sir.
No, sir, I think the Deputy has slightly misjudged this. It's not a matter of ignoring the proposition, it's a matter of adapting to our current circumstances, which when this proposition was passed, we were not having to face the difficulties and the expense that we are now facing. And it's not just a matter of P40, it's a matter of the situation across the board that we will be bringing with the government plan on the 12th of October. And then if amendments are required, then obviously the Assembly is free to do so.
Supplementary, please, sir. So given the Minister's answer that it is a matter of adapting, would the Minister not feel it is more appropriate to free herself of the findings of P40 and to bring a rescindment proposition in advance of the government plan?
No, sir. The government plan will be lodged on October the 12th, and then it's up to States Assembly members. If they wish to bring an amendment, they can do so.
Very well. I have Deputy St Mary, then Deputy Southern, then the Conotable St Saviour, then the final supplementary. Deputy St Mary.
Thank you, sir. It was at one time mooted that the proceeds of the Channel Island Lottery would be applied to the same sectors as those referred to in the Constable's original question. Will the Minister confirm that in coming to any calculations as to reduction of percentage going to those sectors, she will not take into account the prospect of the Channel Island lottery proceeds being used as well? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I think the Channel Island lottery benefits can be applied for by anybody, I understand. So there's no reason why arts, culture, heritage could not apply for some of those financial benefits.
Well, Deputy Southern.
Thank you, sir. Is the Minister not actually announcing here that no budget is safe, and that what we're proceeding with now is the lowest common denominator, salami slicing budgets left, right and centre in the new government plan?
No, sir, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that we have to adjust to the current circumstances, which everybody knows that we have to do. It's quite apparent that there's a huge amount of expenditure and cost that has had to be directed to deal with the current situation of COVID-19, and therefore not everything can go ahead as planned in 2019.
If I may, sir, supplementary. Yes, sir. Is the Minister not directly announcing then that no budget is safe and that cuts will occur willy-nilly across the board? No project is safe.
No, sir, I'm not directly announcing that. The deputy's trying to put words into my mouth. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that restrictions have to be applied because of the current situation. I can't say it more than that.
You can't say more fair than indirectly, you said it.
Connie Harbison Saviour.
Thank you, sir. I'm very disappointed with this, to be perfectly honest with you, because in the very beginning, I thought that the sum that was going to be distributed with everybody was very poor anyway. But I would like to know now what is going to happen to our features. You say there's going to be no help now when we all voted for P40 for help to be given. What I find very sad about this is that...
Well, Connie Harbison, I'm afraid this can't be a speech. This has to be a question.
So, sorry, sir. I don't. Well, in that case, sir, could you tell me why the backbenchers vote when it's going to be overruled anyway by the Council of Ministers? Because that's what happened to the hospital, and that's what's happening now to the arts. So, can you tell me why? Maybe the minister could tell me why we're even voting for anything when we're going to be overruled as backbenchers.
Minister.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry, I had difficulty in hearing what the Connotab was saying. There is no question of propositions being overruled. It's just that when we have to consider the extraordinary expenditure that we're having to deal with the current situation, the COVID-19, that we have to make alterations in all areas. It's not just one particular one. So every department area has had to come forward with suggestions as to how they can make savings in order to function the enormous expense that we have with COVID-19. So it's not a matter of overruling backbenchers or assembly propositions. It's just the government has to make some very strong decisions as to how we fund the expenditure that this pandemic is causing.
Could I just have, and you're not going to like this one either, sir.
Well, if I'm not going to ask it,
I'm not going to like it, so I'm not going to say it, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Deputy Alvison's asked to ask a question. I had actually called the list of which normally indicates that is closed, but two supplementaries have been passed up on, so I'm prepared on this last occasion to be flexible. And Deputy Alves.
Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate that. I'm not sure whether I have misunderstood. However, it was my understanding that the government plan is a 4-year plan with annual budget updates. So therefore, can the minister just clarify if that is the case? And did P40 not apply to the government plan as a whole?
Yes, sir, the deputy is absolutely correct. It's a 4-year plan with annual budget updates. But of course, when the government plan was made in 2019 or produced in 2019, of course, we were not in the pandemic situation that we are now. So adjustments have had to be made going forward in order to finance the situation that we find ourselves in.
Can I just have a quick supplementary, please, sir?
Well, it would have to be a quick one, please, Deputy Alves.
So can the minister just clarify then, did P40 apply to the government plan as a whole? Thank you.
It did, and I thank the deputy. She's absolutely right. It did apply to the government plan as a whole, which was 2019 to 2023. And as I've repeatedly said, we had no idea in 2019, of course, or when this that government plan was produced, that we would be in this current situation. So all expenditure has to be reviewed because of the current situation. So the P40 was adhered to in 2019. Going forward, we will have to adjust everything. And it's not just P40, it's everything has had to be recognised and re-established in the current one, which will be launched on October the 12th.
Very well. Now, Senator Moore, you've asked for a question. I'm afraid I can't give you a question. I have already called the questions closed. I allowed one extension because Deputy Alves mistakenly asked for a point of clarification when she clearly should have asked a question. But we now close the questions for this, and a final supplementary, Conor Tarbison-Hellier.
Thank you, sir. The Minister, I know, has a professional commitment and a great deal of skill when it comes to the arts. And I must say I'm surprised that she doesn't recognise that in a time of a pandemic, the public, islanders as well as visitors, have more requirement for the support provided by culture, arts and the heritage than at other times. Does she not feel that it's actually now is a good time to increase the investment and financial support for the arts rather than subjecting it to the same kind of salami slicing that other departments are experiencing? And will she not reconsider that in these difficult times, people need that access to the arts just as much as they need, for example, access to open space?
I completely agree with the Conor Tarb, and I thank him for his compliment. My entire history and career prior to politics was in arts and culture, and I'm a great supporter of the arts. But in my current situation as Minister for Treasury and Resources, I have to be balanced across the whole expenditure and balance sheet. To be fair to all departments, you can't say that the arts, from my position, are more demanding or need more attention than education or health or any of the other demands on the purse, for want of a better description. But there's no question that I'm a great supporter of the arts. So we're trying to be balanced across the entire expenditure for the next government plan.
Well, we come to question 8. The Deputy Hegarah will ask the Minister for Health and Social Services. Deputy.
Thank you, sir. Further to a public hearing of the Health and Social Security Scrutiny Panel on the 10th of June 2019, during which the Director General of Health and Community Services agreed to provide the results of work that was being undertaken by a UK consultant on risk and governance in government. Will the Minister advise when this work was completed and when members can expect to receive the results? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The report was received in October 2019, and since that time the Health and Community Services Department has been implementing its recommendations. And so I'm happy to share the report with scrutiny members in the first instance, and then with any states member who would like to receive it. Thank you, sir.
Supplementary, Deputy?
Yes, please, sir. Can I ask the Minister why, when it was promised to us in once it was completed, that we are almost 12 months since it was completed, have we not already received this information? Thank you, sir.
Sir, I can't say why that has occurred. I haven't looked back at the precise text of the discussion, but if there was a promise made, I regret that it hasn't been followed up. But I also note that the scrutiny panel hasn't asked for it until the Deputy has lodged this question, but I'm very happy to provide it to the panel.
Very well. We come now to question 9. The Deputy Alves will ask the Minister for Health and Social Services. Deputy Alves.
Thank you, sir. Will the Minister explain why, prior to COVID-19, the out-of-hours GP service provided telephone advice free of charge, but the advice now incurs a charge of £20? Thank you, sir.
Sir, GP practices, including the out-of-hours services, are able to charge for video or telephone consultation if they wish, and these charges are not laid down by government. So it may be that there was a time when a particular practice made no charge and may now charge £20. Thank you, sir.
Very well.
Please, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. So I was referring to the out-of-hours GP service. So can the Minister therefore confirm, are those charges set by each individual GP practice, or are they set centrally, as this is a service that I believe is provided for by the hospital or from the hospital? Thank you.
Sir, I believe that the GPs who combine together to provide that service decide upon their charges. It is true it is run from the hospital, and there is an agreement whereby customer and local services would provide a rebate for any fees charged, in the same way that that happens on a face-to-face consultation in normal surgery hours. But the charge payable by the patient is set by the GPs participating in the scheme, because they are independent practitioners and businesses and are in business as commercial enterprises. Thank you, sir.
Deputy Ward.
Thank you, sir. Can I extend this into a small matter, but one that has been brought to my concern for the Minister, sir? It's the same for repeat prescription charges that previously in some places were a nominal charge of £2 and have been raised to £5 because the prescriptions are being dropped at the pharmacy, which is sometimes just downstairs. So is it the case that it is because of the independent business nature of the GPs in this way that these charges are increased? And does the Minister have any say or influence over these charges? They may be small, but they are significant for some. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I think the Deputy is right. I can't tell the GPs what to charge in their businesses.
Very well.
No supplementary, sir. I think that's
Thank
clear.
you very much. Deputy Sutton.
Thank you, sir. Is it the Minister's intention to maintain this position whereby GPs can set their own fees for the delivery of whatever service they should choose? And is he not, along with the Social Security Minister, does he not intend to take greater control over how and how much GPs can charge?
Sir, I think it's pretty clear that the island doesn't want government to control GPs. There has been some fear of that, and members will have received letters about even suggesting that we're on a course to nationalise the health service or bring all GPs under the wing of government, and that is not the case. And I don't wish it to be the case. I think we are well served by our GPs as independent practitioners, but the Deputy knows that we are working on a scheme to help those who are financially vulnerable, so that we don't see the harmful ill effects of people being unable to afford healthcare and their health suffering as a result. So we will mitigate and intervene in the market in that way, but there is no sense in which we are taking away from the independence of GPs as professionals in business. Thank you, sir.
Supplementary, Deputy Sutton? No. Deputy Taddy?
The Minister said that the island does not want us to control GPs and doesn't want us to nationalise the GP service, but would the Minister reconsider his words and acknowledge that the island is not homogenous, and in fact there are many different views, and from a user point of view, what many people who can't afford doctors and who don't have the habit of going to see a doctor on a regular basis, they noticed that the access that was provided around COVID-19 was very helpful, and that might be the first context in which they've come into contact with a medical professional free of charge during what's been a health crisis. Does he acknowledge that point?
Yes, sir, of course I acknowledge there are different views, and each view has some merits and some demerits. My comments are drawn, I think, from a survey of some years ago, a government survey in which people, it seems, wish to retain the present arrangements. But equally, I know GPs are anxious to ensure that we have the best healthcare that we can deliver on the island, and the situation is evolutionary. And this is what the Jersey Care model will envisage. Change takes place, learning from best practice that all practitioners seek to achieve, and we will work together to improve access to healthcare. But I believe it's more of an evolutionary process rather than a revolutionary process.
So supplementary, does the Minister acknowledge that philosophically and politically speaking, there's absolutely nothing wrong with regulating the price that GPs can charge? We do it for taxi drivers, for example. We tell taxi drivers how much they can charge for a particular journey. Yet is not healthcare much more important than transportation in the island?
Journey of life.
That is a huge issue, sir. That would need to be addressed in a substantial debate if we wish to have it. I think the important thing is to make sure that those who are vulnerable can access health care rather than imposing across the board measures in a system that needs some tweaking, but essentially provides excellent health care for the island. Thank you, sir.
Well, final supplementary then, Deputy Alves.
Thank you, sir. Can the Minister therefore tell me what work or data was analysed on the potential impact of introducing this charge, which didn't exist prior to COVID? Thank you.
So it is not a charge that the government introduced. It is a commercial decision taken by the GPs. So there was no government research around it, I believe. I could just say if patients are concerned about having been charged or the quality of service they receive, then they can discuss that initially with the practice, but unresolved issues can also be referred to the primary care governance team, which does sit within government. Thank you, sir.
So when we come to question 10, the Deputy Higgins will ask the Minister for Health and Social Services. Deputy Higgins.
Thank you, sir. Will the Minister update States members on his department's principal preparation for a potential spike in the coronavirus cases in the next few months and throughout the winter?
Thank you, sir. I'm pleased to answer this question and reassure the Deputy that Health and Community Services has been undertaking extensive winter planning and COVID preparedness. So we have clinical and operational groups from across the department meeting on a weekly basis to ensure that business continuity plans are updated. That is across the hospital, the community, mental health and social care services. And in addition, we continually engage with partners such as GPs, such as charities and other third sector organisations around the delivery of care, in particular infection prevention control, the continued supply of PPE and the development of pathways of care to ensure citizens are looked after. Thank you, sir.
Supplementary, Deputy.
Thank you. Can the Minister assure members that they have sufficient PPE for all, hospital staff, care homes, prison workers, emergency services, etc., and that they have purchased sufficient testing agents and materials for testing our islanders and to deal with severe side effects that patients experience with COVID-19 in its extreme form?
So we have good supplies of PPE and the testing swabs. We have a policy to hold at least 3 months supply of PPE in reserve, and we are in a good place with all those stocks. Thank you, sir.
Deputy Pamplin.
Thank you, sir. Principal, the part of the principal preparations for the winter is the hospital. And so can the Minister outline any update on the plans in face of any sort of either flu, norovirus, or of course the COVID-19? What preparations are in place to ensure the hospital can deal with that? Thank you, sir.
The large part of our preparations is around the vaccination programs. We are encouraging as many people as are eligible to take up the flu vaccine, and we are rolling that out to people aged 50 plus rather than the usual 65 plus. And I do hope as many members of the public will take that up, because it provides additional protection and reduces any pressure that might occur on hospital services if we were to have a bad flu season. And then, of course, we are preparing for the COVID vaccine, which we hope will come as soon as it can. But first of all, we will be dealing with the flu vaccine. And the hospital is in a good state of preparedness. We have learnt a very great deal from the lockdown and the need to be ready to deliver care. At the same time, we are catching up with the backlog that occurred at that time and making good progress through the lists. Thank you, sir.
So a quick supplementary, if I may. He did get to the crux of my question, was the hospital. Can he confirm the situation of staffing levels in terms of will people be allowed annual leave and holiday? Can he update us on those preparations specifically, including ensuring those staff members get any sort of vaccination? Thank you.
Right, specifically on vaccination, staff will be amongst the first cohort, and they are prioritised for vaccination. Annual leave has not been cancelled. Yes, of course, all staff are entitled to annual leave. They are working to normal terms and conditions, but we do recognise that staff have been put under a great deal of pressure, and we have a rather well, completely dedicated but somewhat exhausted staff in some respects, and we are mindful of that. And there have also been extensive preparations and measures put in place to address their mental health and well-being. Those are continuing, and I'm very proud and pleased of the programme that has been put in place and has been taken up by very many members of staff who recognise the importance not just of trying to maintain physical fitness, but the wider well-being needs as well. I hope that answers the Deputy's question.
Deputy Pershard.
Thank you, sir. Following on from the initial question, when will the Minister share the department's plans for dealing with a potential spike of coronavirus with the Assembly?
So these are very much operational plans. I will undertake to circulate, if not the very granular detail, but a good summary of exactly how this is planned. But there are numerous business continuity plans across all sectors of hospital and social care services. So there is good preparation and a lot of planning that has gone into this.
Supplementary, sir?
Yes.
My question was, when will the Minister share these plans?
So I will ask officers to prepare a document which I don't want to just send out dozens of business continuity plans for each care group within the service. That would be almost impenetrable. So I will ask officers to prepare a good resume, and then if members wish to delve into the detail, we can provide that.
Well, Deputy Truscott.
Thank you, sir. With the flu season nearly upon us, and with COVID-19 on the rise in countries to the north and the east of us, will the Minister finally consider making the wearing of face mask coverings in confined public spaces mandatory rather than voluntary, as the case now? And if not, why not? Thank you, sir.
So yes, I think that is coming. That is in our legislative programme to introduce a law that would provide for mask wearing in indoor public places, and that will come before the Assembly to make that decision. I'm sorry, sir, there's noise off. Yes, sir, but meanwhile it remains strongly recommended, and we are to engage in discussions with retailers, particularly, sir, about how they might encourage the wearing of masks in retail outlets, because I believe we are very relaxed in Jersey. Anyone who has been to the UK or other countries this summer will have seen how much more the wearing of masks is prevalent there, and there's a much greater sense of what we face, whereas perhaps in Jersey we've become too relaxed about this, and we don't realise that COVID is still with us and poses a threat. So this will receive a greater profile, sir. Thank you.
Supplemental, please, sir.
Yes, Deputy.
One can't help feeling there is a battle with the flu bug and COVID-19 looming. Personally, I feel we should be using every tool in our locker to combat this public threat. Could the Minister indicate how soon he could implement the necessary changes to legislation to make the wearing of face coverings compulsory in a prescribed situation and public place? Thank you, sir.
So to make it compulsory, I'm advised that we need to introduce legislation. That is being drafted. I have had talks around it, but it will need to be lodged. I hope at the beginning of October, and then of course we'd need a 6-week lodging period, unless it is the case that the Assembly wish to take the debate within a shorter time. I'll speak to the Deputy. I'll test out members before, perhaps, to see if that might be something that the Assembly would wish to do. Thank you, sir.
Final supplementary, Deputy Higgins.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to thank the Minister for his answers and for agreeing to supply us with further details. From what he said, can we be assured that, unlike the pandemic first broke out in March, that we should experience no similar problems going forward?
I'm sorry, sir, I missed the last few words of the Deputy's question.
I just was asking, unlike in March, when the pandemic came on us rather quickly, we were caught short in certain areas, can the Minister assure us there'll be no similar problems going forward?
So we're in a good place. We are better prepared. It would be foolhardy to give my personal assurance that we won't encounter any bumps along the way, because this is an unpredictable situation. But we are in an excellent state of preparedness through the hard work of many teams in the public service. And I don't think we have omitted anything that we needed to have done to be prepared. Thank you, sir.
Well, we come to question 11. The Deputy Southern will ask of the Chief Minister. Deputy.
Thank you, sir. What data or estimates does the Chief Minister have, either from Statistics Jersey's income distribution survey or elsewhere, on income levels and their distribution pre-COVID-19 in 2019 and following the outbreak of the pandemic during the first 6 months of 2020? And will he provide a date by which such data will be shared with members prior to any debate on the economic recovery plan?
Chief Minister.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. The Deputy did actually ask me a similar question, I think twice in June. One was a written question, one was an oral question, where I highlighted that the Chief Statistician expected the results of the analysis of the household income data, which was collected between July 2019 and March 2020, to be published in Q4 2020. And as I stated in that answer, the results will be available to all Islanders for review. One thing I do realise, sir, in kind of preparing for the answer to this question, is that I did say at the time I would meet the Chief Statistician to try and get some more details and to discuss the matter. Unfortunately, to date, so that hasn't actually been possible. I think it's probably been as a result of the combination of COVID and trying to get the government plan into a decent shape. But I have asked that to be expedited, sir, and I'll feed that back to the Deputy as soon as I've had that discussion.
Supplementary, Deputy?
Sir, the supplementary I made, the Chief Minister appeared when he last answered my questions on this topic to say that the Chief Statistician was completely independent of his direction. But I would beg the Chief Minister to simply ask the question as to when will we see this data, because it's important for one of the major thrusts of our policy to reduce income inequality, and that surely he can say whether it will come in the first half in October, or whether we have to wait for it till December before we see what this vital piece of information actually suggests.
Yes, sir. As I've just said, sir, I did undertake to have that discussion, and unfortunately it didn't take place. I've asked for that to be expedited, and as soon as I get a date, sir, I'll feed it back to the Deputy and members. But the point is, the Chief Statistician, when we last spoke to him, was basically saying it would be during Q4, and I suspect that it's a case of actually how long it takes to finish compiling and summarising the data, sir.
Deputy Ward?
Thank you, sir. Given that the government plan is due to scrutiny on Monday, how can the key Common Strategic Policy target of reducing income inequality be addressed effectively without this data being available to the Council of Ministers or those not in the Council of Ministers deciding upon the government plan?
So, as I've said previously, this data and the results of the survey have long been scheduled for Q4, and government plan, as the Deputy is absolutely correct, is scheduled to go to scrutiny effectively in the Word form on Monday, and that's what we're focusing on, sir. So, sir, that's the timing that we are dealing with, and sir, in terms of the area that the Deputy has alluded to, we are ensuring that the format of the government plan is very similar to last year, and we'll obviously work through the various CSP priorities. I do emphasise the point, sir. We have been through and are continuing to go through the pandemic crisis. This has caused all sorts of eruptions to normal preparation and has caused all sorts of delays. And that's what a scrutiny will see, and then members will see when we present it, sir.
Supplementary, sir?
Yes, Deputy.
I agree with the Chief Minister that we have been through a very difficult time with COVID. And it's clear that those on the lowest incomes and those poorest in our society are disproportionately affected. Therefore, would this data, which uncovers that inequality, would it not enrich the response that we can make and make it more effective? And therefore, is there not a gap in the analysis in order to develop the government plan in this area? Thank you, sir.
Sir, I'm not unsympathetic to the Deputy's comments. I think I'll break it into two, sir. One is we will get the data, and therefore it will feed into the following year's government plan. Secondly, sir, the Deputy is right that all sorts of individuals have been affected by COVID-19, and as we know, measures were put in place both in the income support levels, through the CREST scheme, through other measures to address some of that. And that included in the fiscal stimulus measures, where not only did every islander get the £100 vouchers, which included those at the low end of the spectrum, sir, but also those at the lower end also received an extra £100 each, which was paid out in July, sir. So we have tried to take the measures we needed to take to protect the vulnerable in society, sir, including the financial terms. But as we said, sir, we are dealing with extraordinary times, and they will continue, sir, for the next few months as well, sir.
On a supplementary then, Deputy Sutton.
Thank you, sir. No matter how extraordinary the times, it's a simple matter of timing. I could press the minister to say earlier is better than later, but whatever it is, if we know when we're going to see this data, then we can prepare for what measures we want to see in the government plan more accurately, better researched, if we can have that. So it's a simple matter of tell us when we can see this data so that we can plot it into our work schedule to get decent amendments to the government plan.
So, as I said, I'm not unsympathetic to that comment. I will make sure that discussion is held shortly so with the Chief Statistician, and I'll come back to members as soon as I can. I do apologise to the Deputy for the perspective. I did say I'd do it in June, but as I said, the combination of both COVID and getting the government plan into a reasonable shape, and we will obviously be updating members on that. Obviously, unfortunately, sir, I think matters got overlooked, but I will rectify that as soon as I can, sir.
We now come to question 12. The Deputy Tadier will ask of the Chief Minister. Deputy Tadier.
Merci. Le gouvernement a-t-il pour habitude de solliciter des expressions d'intérêt de la part de particuliers ou d'entreprises européennes non britanniques pour des travaux de conseil, là où une expertise hors de l'île est jugée nécessaire, et sinon, pourquoi?
Monsieur le chef ministre.
Merci. Je dois remercier le député pour pratiquer mon français aujourd'hui. Monsieur Lebaille, le processus de manifestation d'entrée du gouvernement est ouvert et annoncé sur les plateformes publiques et par conséquent, aucune n'encourage ni ne décourage activement les candidatures de cabinets conseils auprès d'entités européennes non britanniques, car elles sont accessibles à tous. Les demandes de propositions ou les appels d'offres pour des missions plus importantes, le cas échéant, sont publiés sur le portail des îles anglo-normandes et ouverts à tous. Les appels d'offres plus importants publiés sur le portail sont également publiés via le journal officiel de l'Union européenne afin de garantir que les organisations souhaitant travailler à Jersey ou étendre leur portée géographique puissent également candidater. Les demandes plus petites, généralement pour une seule personne, proviendront d'une sélection des entreprises de ressources humaines, soit recruteurs, de chasseurs de tête, dont beaucoup ont une portée internationale et diffusent les offres, opportunités sur des plateformes ouvertes. Merci, monsieur.
Well, are we in a position to
avoir une question supplémentaire, monsieur?
One moment, Deputy. Are we able to put a translation of that into the chat?
Yes, sir.
There'll be a translation of the answer in the chat. You have a supplementary question, Deputy Tadier?
Oui, tout à fait. J'ai une question supplémentaire. Et je suis désolé, il n'y aura pas de translation parce que c'est maintenant que je formule ma question. Est-ce que, alors, en principe, le Premier ministre a dit qu'il prend une politique neutre parce que, en principe, toutes les expressions d'entrée sont ouvertes aux compagnies en Angleterre ou en France. Mais en principe, je pense qu'en réalité, les fonctionnaires qui sont à la base souvent anglophones, ils ont des contacts qui existent déjà vers l'Angleterre ou vers la Grande-Bretagne. Et souvent, c'est le cas qu'ils vont forcément chez l'Angleterre parce que c'est eux qui connaissent. Est-ce que le ministre peut donner un avis sur là-dessus, s'il vous plaît?
Il y a toujours, je suppose, un danger que, même pour nous, on va directement à un endroit où on est déjà familier. Mais si je peux vous donner un exemplaire où ce n'est certainement pas le cas, le projet Notre Hôpital a engagé plus tôt cette année une entreprise locale en partenariat avec un groupe de construction espagnol pour construire notre nouvel hôpital. Donc, ça montre qu'il y a des fois où on choisit quelque chose qui n'est pas forcément d'Angleterre parce que c'est une question de choisir ce qui est meilleur pour l'île et pas forcément c'est pas forcément une question de l'origine, de nationalité, de la société ou je sais pas quoi.
It is, of course, entirely open to members to ask questions and indeed to respond in the French language. That is a permissible use of the French language within this assembly. Could I just remind members, though, that in doing so, they run the risk that they will not be understood by a good number of the members here, possibly not even in every material respect by the presiding officer, and that if it is important that other people are here, and presumably it is, then it may be useful to, if there is to be a question posed in French, for an ad hoc translation to be provided at the same time. I simply say that not to make a ruling, but simply to guide members. And Deputy Morel, you have a question.
So I have put a translation of the earlier response into the chat. So I'm happy to read that out if that helps. I'm also happy to give a quick translation of the reply I just gave, sir.
Well, I think the moment is probably past for that, Chief Minister. But if the members can read what's in the chat, Deputy Morel has indicated a desire for a supplemental question. So, Deputy.
Merci. Si les annonces pour les contrats sont publiées aux Union européenne, pour quelle raison est-ce que le chef ministre pense qu'il y a presque jamais les réponses des entreprises européennes? Ici, il y a toujours juste les entreprises de la Royaume-Uni qui répondent aux annonces. In English, why does he think that there are almost never any European responses to contracts?
Thank you, Deputy Chief Minister.
C'est vraiment une bonne question, monsieur. Et j'imagine, bien sûr, il y a toujours les liens qui sont plus forts maintenant avec l'Angleterre et ça veut dire que les sociétés de l'Angleterre qui ont des fois des filiales ici et donc ont déjà plus de liens avec l'île, mais aussi du point de vue de n'oublie pas que bien qu'on est très fiers de notre île, on est petit et donc pour une société européenne qui peut être une grande société, souvent le niveau de contrat n'est pas forcément quelque chose d'intérêt pour eux. Just in English, I think it's a very good question, sir. Part of it will be links between, obviously, British firms having sometimes branches or connections with Jersey already, so they're more embedded, more aware of the system. And sometimes, sir, it will be that even though, didn't quite say this, sir, that if things are advertised, for example, on the relevant portals that go into the European networks, that European companies are probably looking at Jersey as a small place. And although we're very proud of our island, sir, we are small and sometimes those contracts may not be of interest to them.
Supplementary, Deputy Morel.
Merci. Est-ce qu'il pense avec la rupture entre la Grande-Bretagne et la Royaume-Uni et l'Union européenne, est-ce qu'il pense que ces contrats publics nous donnent une possibilité de faire des réparations pour ces liens entre nous, l'île de Jersey, et l'Union européenne? Est-ce qu'il y a une possibilité d'avoir les liens les plus proches avec l'UE comme ça? In English, does the Chief Minister think that we can use this opportunity through our public contracts to grow links with the European Union?
Il y a toujours des possibilités d'améliorer les liens avec l'Union européenne. Si je peux vous donner, par exemple, deux exemplaires, notre société d'électricité, bien sûr, on a des contrats très intéressants avec le fournisseur de l'électricité en France, bien sûr, l'EDF. Et aussi, de notre point de vue, du point de vue de taille de contrat, j'imagine, les barrières qu'on voit en suivant qui paraissent être construites de bois sur le côté de la route, normalement on l'a acheté d'une société française, je crois, soit de la Normandie, soit de la Bretagne. Donc il y a des possibilités et je suppose il y a toujours des possibilités d'améliorer la situation. Very quickly in English, I think it's a good point. I think there's always possibilities of improving links and business links with EU countries. Two very quick examples I gave is obviously the JEC obviously have supply contracts with EDF, and in fact I think are quite a significant customer in terms of export for EDF. And actually at the other side of the spectrum in terms of size of contracts, the wooden crash barriers that you'll see, for example, going up Beaumont Hill, so on the side of the roads, I believe are French made and either from a company in Normandy or Brittany, or perhaps that was where the contacts were made. So there are examples, and but I think we can always do more.
Question supplémentaire finale, député Tallier.
Oui, monsieur, merci. Et peut-être que le chef ministre a déjà dit partiellement, mais est-ce qu'il est d'accord que quand nous engageons un consultant, nous devrions tourner vers les pays et les régions qui sont les meilleurs dans leur domaine et pas forcément s'engager avec des consultants britanniques selon le cas?
En principe, je suis d'accord. C'est toujours difficile dans ces cas, mais parce que c'est quelquefois c'est une question qu'est-ce que la manière le plus vite, c'est le plus pratique. Mais en principe, c'est toujours le mieux de choisir quelqu'un qui a la meilleure expérience pour la situation qu'on cherche à résoudre à Jersey. So basically, so it's, in principle, I agree, and sometimes it can be difficult for speed or practical reasons, but as a principle, we should be looking for whoever can give the best solution to the Jersey situation.
Thank you very much. Chief Minister, now come to question 13. The Deputy Ward will ask of the Minister for Infrastructure. Deputy.
Thank you, sir. I'm sure my French teacher would be proud if I was to ask this in French, but I'll continue in English. So may I ask the Minister, what was the outcome of the pilot bus service for Highlands College from Liberation Station? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. A morning peak service operated Service 17 between the bus station and Highlands College, which was run by Liberty Bus in spring 2019. After meetings between the two organisations indicated there was enough interest to warrant the pilots, actual demand for the service proved to be lower than initially expected. Despite efforts from Highlands College and Liberty Bus to promote the facility, fewer than 40 student trips in total were recorded on the service between the summer holidays. Due to the low demand, it was decided to end the term. The Service 17 would not be reinstated in September 2019.
A supplementary, sir?
Yes, indeed.
Thank you, sir. I asked the Minister, was consideration taken of the fact that at Highlands College there are many different starting times throughout the day and evening, and so therefore it may well have been that simply the bus service timing was inappropriate to attract significant numbers? Thank you, sir.
Indeed, sir. This was an initiative brought forward by Liberty Bus, which is something I really approved of. I thought an excellent initiative to pick up the students and take them straight into campus. I thought excellent idea, but sadly it didn't work. Liberty Bus officials attended many events at Highlands College. They consulted with the students. They tried to work out the best times. And there was a lot of publicity done at Liberty Bus Station, on the TVs there, on the big screens, with the students, leaflets, and Highlands College leafleted it widely. But sadly, the buses was not taken up, and I would think it was a total of about 40 students used it in total. So I would like to see it return possibly in the future, but at the moment it's not feasible. Thank you, sir.
So with respect, I don't want to use up my final supplementary on a question that I've already asked.
Well, you don't actually get a final supplementary if you've had a supplementary and no one else has asked a question. So this is your last question. So do you want to clarify what the position is? Yes,
sir, I would like to clarify. I asked about whether an understanding of the different timings on which students may travel to Highlands was undertaken by Liberty Bus, i.e. not just at peak times, but throughout the day, when actually the bus service may have been more useful, was undertaken. And I got the same answer again, so thank you.
Minister?
Yes, indeed, sir. The students at Highlands College were interviewed. There was a lot of research going on in the background, sir, by Highlands College themselves and Liberty Bus to work out the best times, etc. But sadly, the buses were not taken up, which I find quite sad. As I'm with the deputy on this, I would love to have seen this work, as I say, and take students straight into campus. But there was an awful lot of research done, but sadly, it wasn't taken up, sir.
Well, Deputy Masson.
Thank you, sir. I wonder if the Minister could explain why there are buses for Holier JCG, Victoria College, Bowlia and De La Salle, but not for Highlands, who are doing equivalent to A-levels, and were any shared services considered?
Indeed, sir. All services are shared. That a lot of students use the student bus service. A lot of students use the regular bus service, or a combination of both. It's whatever is convenient for the students, sir. But as I say, this was an initiative by Liberty Bus, and it was carried out. All the consultation was carried out within consultation of Highlands College to find the best service possible, sir.
Supplementary, please, sir. And
yes.
And does the Minister think, therefore, that it's about time that we had, as Deputy Southern School for many years, a town hopper bus service?
Well, that's another different kettle of fish altogether. So hop bus service wouldn't necessarily go to Highlands College. So this is a bit works. Anywhere where there is a demand for bus services, I would encourage Liberty Bus to put a bus on there, sir. But as I say, it is quite sad that this particular service was not taken up, sir.
Deputy Tardieu.
So I don't need to ask my question now. Thank you.
Final supplementary, Deputy Ward.
Thank you, sir. I'm always perplexed when a trial is undertaken with the notion of consultation fully beforehand. Would the Minister agree that in order to change behaviour, one has to invest for a longer period of time and look at flexibility, such as an all-day service of the hopper type that was mentioned by Deputy Masson, in order to change the behaviour of people as much as anything else? And would the Minister consider trying this again as we move into the coming years, and try to address a sustainable transport policy and a climate change initiative? Thank you, sir.
Yes, indeed, sir. I would encourage Liberty Bus to give it another try. Absolutely. The more people on the buses, the better. Obviously, we have COVID at the moment, but so this trial took place in 2019. But as soon as COVID is over, I would hope that Liberty Bus would try it again. I would encourage them to do so. I say there was extensive lobbying of students. Posters were put up at Highlands College. Leaflets were sent out to students by Highland College. TV screens, Liberation Station. Hard copies were also displayed at Liberation Station. And they did go the full way, sir. But I would encourage them to try again in the future in liaison with Highlands College. Indeed, sir. The more people that use buses, the less cars on the road, the less traffic, which is all good for the STP, sir. Thank you.
Very well, we come to question 14. The Deputy Higgins will ask the Minister for Children and Housing. Deputy.
Thank you, sir. Will the Minister state on what basis social workers may confiscate the mobile telephone of a client during a meeting and not return it to them? And if there has been a recent incidence of this, will he ensure that the telephone is immediately returned, or if not, that the client is compensated for the loss? And will he take steps to ensure this cannot happen in future?
Minister.
Thank you, sir. In terms of what basis a social worker could confiscate a phone from a client and not return it to them, there is absolutely no basis for that, and it should not happen, full stop. Since this question has been lodged, I have begun looking into this and have discovered that there is one allegation of this happening, and I'll be investigating it further.
Thank you, sir. That's fine. I'd like to thank the Minister for his answer, and I look forward to hearing the results of his investigation.
Well, Deputy Morell.
Thank you, sir. And it was just to ask, would the Minister accept that forcing somebody to give up any element of property is theft, and that any employee of the government who has coerced or forced somebody to give up some of their property should be prosecuted, as you would expect any member of the public to be prosecuted?
I'm afraid I can't allow that question, Deputy. It's asking for an expression of opinion about the legal consequences of a particular act and whether a minister thinks a criminal prosecution could ensue. Obviously, if there is an allegation of a criminal offence, that is something that should be laid before the police and a report made and a decision taken by the Attorney General if a prosecution is merited. And I don't think it would be helpful or advisable for any minister to express a view in this place as to whether such a thing might happen. But if you wish to rephrase your question.
Thank you, sir. Will the minister treat such allegations as allegations of theft? Thank you, sir.
So I think it's an extremely serious allegation, and it's one that I haven't yet had the opportunity to understand the exact story behind it. And the full details, but as I've said, there is no basis for that sort of thing taking place. It should not be happening, and it is very serious.
Thank you very much. Final supplementary then, Deputy Higgins.
Yes, thank you, sir. Could I ask the Minister if he will reaffirm that it is the right of any citizen who is dealing with his officers to record the conversations of their meetings as a personal record of what went on for accuracy, and that they should not be prevented from doing so?
So that is the case, but obviously that would get complicated when such recordings began to be shared with a wider group of people afterwards, and that's where difficulties would arise. And if there are people who feel that they want to have their own personal record of meetings that are taking place, it would be a good idea to share that with the people who are also in that meeting, so that they can all have confidence in that.
Thank you very much, Mr. We come now to question 15. I think given the fact that time is pressing, we have well under 20 minutes before we conclude this period of questions. Any member asking a supplementary question will not be able to ask a follow-up supplementary question in the way that we've done, and hopefully we'll then fit all of the questions in. Question 15, Deputy Alves will ask of the Minister for Home Affairs. Deputy.
Thank you, sir. Will the Minister advise what training, if any, police and customs officers currently receive in unconscious bias? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, sir. State and Jersey police officers receive input on unconscious bias through training provided. In addition, officers receive College of Policing accredited vulnerability training that covers bias towards hard to reach and vulnerable groups, for example, missing persons, adults at risk, modern slavery, sex workers, etc. Jersey Customs and Immigration officers must adhere to an equality and diversity policy which applies to all government employees. Additionally, since the beginning of this year, all new starters have received the new government induction program called My Welcome, and this includes a module on diversity, inclusion and belonging, which covers unconscious bias. It is planned that this will now be rolled out to all employees, including existing officers at Jersey Customs and Immigration Service.
Supplementary, Deputy Alves. Supplementary, Deputy Alves. I'm afraid you must have gone mute. We can't hear you. That's right.
Right. Thank you, sir. Given the answer to my written question today, 334, which suggests data is not collected on who is stopped and questioned unless a search takes place, How is the Minister measuring and monitoring whether unconscious bias is present and if the training is having an impact? Thank you.
So what I can say is that this sort of situation would be measured by any complaints which are received, and if the deputy has any suggestions that there's been inappropriate behaviour by either a police officer or customs immigration officer, that then she must bring it to the attention of the chief officer of the relevant department, sir.
Well, Deputy Gardner.
Thank you, sir. I would like to ask Minister if it was any consideration given or any training given on cross-cultural communication, including non-verbal communication skills.
Yeah, I'm sorry, sir. That's a very detailed question. I'm not privy to the detail of the training that is provided, but I tell you what, sir. I've got absolute confidence in the States of Jersey Police and the Customs and Immigration Service, who conduct themselves in an excellent manner. And say if there's any doubt about that at all, I would be grateful if the deputy or anyone would bring it to my attention, sir.
Deputy Tanya.
Thank you. Is the Home Affairs Minister aware of any conversations around the establishment of an Equalities and Human Rights Commission in Jersey, which could have the benefit of providing framework for issues such as unconscious bias, but more generally around issues of discrimination and human rights?
I am not aware of any such discussions, sir. Oh, and certainly I'm not privy to any.
And a supplementary, so
no, I'm sorry, Deputy. I'm allowing supplementaries on supplementaries. Deputy Ward.
Thank you, sir. Can I ask the Minister, would he not say that it's a wholly inadequate way to measure the quality or not of unconscious bias training by waiting for complaints to be made, which many people on the island would simply not do because they cannot understand the complaints process?
So I really don't know how else to measure this. I mean, certainly, you know, the departments have equality and diversity working group, which meets regularly. If there are issues in this area, say with the police or with the Customs and Immigration Service, you know, please let me know. But you know, I'm not going around looking under the tables to find out if there are any issues, because unless people are concerned about them, I'm not going to be looking for them. If there's issues, tell me about them, but if there are no issues, let them get on with their job.
Final supplementary, Deputy Officer.
Thank you, sir. So in light of some of the concerns that have been raised, would the Minister consider asking, at the very least, the customs officers to keep some kind of record of who is being questioned, not just who is subsequently searched? Thank you, sir.
Well, I certainly can ask the chief officer about that. But I mean, you know, there are many people who come into this island every day. Well, certainly there used to be pre-COVID, and hopefully there will be again in the not too distant future. But certainly I can put that question to the chief officer at Customs and Immigration, sir.
Thank you,
very much, Minister. We come to question 16. The Deputy Morell will ask the Chief Minister. Deputy.
Thank you, sir. Will the Chief Minister state how many non-resident business licences to work in Jersey were issued by the Population Office for the years 2018, 2019 and to date in 2020? And what income was generated in each year by the sale of these licences?
Senator Farnham's taking this question, sir.
Yes, Senator Farnham.
Thank you, sir. Just as a reminder, the business licences alluded to allow for local individuals and companies to bring in services that they aren't able to source locally, or where there is a long wait for that service or skill to be available, you know, thus stifling those businesses and individuals from moving forward, so with projects such as construction and medical projects, just to name some of them, sir. So these enable firms, local firms, to import skills or labour to finish the projects on time. So in 2018, 310 licences were issued that generated £399,000 in revenue. In 2019, 355 licenses were issued, generating £407,515 in revenue. And 2020 to date, sir, 160 licenses have been issued, generating £165,000, sir.
Supplementary, Deputy Morell.
Thank you, sir. Would the Minister advise the Assembly whether he is considering increasing the cost of these licenses as in order to obviously increase to some extent income to the Treasury, but also to ensure that such licenses are seen as valuable and not used as a way around using local companies?
Yes, sir. These licenses can be quite useful because we can import skills and companies to complete projects. So they come over, they do the work, and they go, thus not staying behind and putting extra pressure on our population challenges. As part of the the post COVID-19 economic recovery program and sort of the look through of our charges where we can increase charges, there might be an opportunity here to perhaps base a fee on the contract value, for example. That's something we'll be looking at moving forward. And I will keep the Deputy as Chair of our scrutiny panel updated on any discussions we might have about that in the future.
Thank you. So would the Minister consider that it's unwise to encourage more of the issue of these licenses, particularly in the light of COVID at the moment and the impending spike that is occurring in the UK?
Well, so as I alluded to in my opening statement, these are generally issued when the skills or the service provided cannot be readily or quickly obtained locally, so they don't hold up important contracts. And the advantage is businesses don't stay; they come, or individuals come over, complete the work, and they leave. I would rather, right now, sir, as we're trying to support the local economy as much as possible, I would agree with the Constable, and we'd much rather find the work from our local economy. However, notwithstanding the tough economic situation we find ourselves in, there are still some industries and some economic sectors that are busy, sir. For example, construction is one of them. So there is even now still a call to import some of this labour, so make sure important projects stay on time, sir.
A final supplementary, Deputy Morell.
Thank you, sir. Would the Minister advise the Assembly as to what efforts are made to, or the extent of efforts that the government makes to ensure that businesses do not come over and operate here without a license? With the numbers that the Minister kindly provided in my earlier question, is he certain that that is 100% of the businesses that move that come to Jersey on a temporary basis? Thanks, sir.
I think so. We capture the vast majority of businesses that come over. There have been instances of business coming over without the correct licenses, but customs officials are very alive to the fact, and close watch is kept on comings and goings of commercial vehicles, and regular spot checks are carried out, sir. So I can't guarantee we get everybody, but the vast majority are licensed, sir.
Very well, we come to question 17. The Connétable St Helier will ask the Minister for Economic Development, Tourism, Sport and Culture. Connétable.
Thank you, sir. Will the Minister undertake to support the tourism industry by taking such steps as are necessary to ensure that swab testing for passengers arriving at Jersey's ports remains free?
Thank you, sir. A comprehensive on-arrival PCR testing programme, as members will know, is an important part of the safer travel arrangements and represents a considerable commitment by the taxpayer, sir, to maintain Jersey as a holiday destination to support a number of sectors within our economy, including tourism. So at this stage, sir, I certainly would not support the introduction of charges for the testing, as we have seen in other jurisdictions, for example, Iceland, where they do introduce a charge for the test. This could cause a sharp drop in passenger numbers to the overall detriment of our community, sir. Our island is successfully containing the spread of the virus, and the travel is helping to support islanders, sir, businesses and the visitor economy, albeit at a significantly reduced rate, sir. I would say, sir, that it might not be sustainable to continue the full cost of testing indefinitely, but I certainly wouldn't support any changes to the current arrangement until such time as we were being vaccinated and we saw a lot more confidence from the airlines, a lot more security for the airlines as they make, and the shipping companies, of course, as they make a global recovery. So right now, sir, I intend to continue to throw my support behind the current arrangement and support not just tourism, but all islanders, so with the safer travel policy.
Supplementary, Conte Absentelli?
Yes, thank you, sir. I'm sure the tourism industry, hospitality and other sectors will be very relieved to hear the Minister's words. And could I just ask the Minister to pass on my thanks, and I'm sure the Assembly's thanks, to all of those staff who work so hard at the ports to provide a testing service which has already won national regard and is frequently referred to in national media.
Well,
yes, sir. Yes, sir. I certainly will. Thank you.
We come now to question 18. The Deputy Pamplin will ask for the Minister for Children and Housing. Deputy.
Thank you, sir. Further to oral question 155/2020, will the Minister update the Assembly on the homelessness review and advise how many islanders are currently either homeless or under emergency housing? Thank you.
Minister.
Thank you, sir. The most up-to-date figures that I can get the Deputy for the number of homeless people that we're aware of in Jersey come from Shelter Trust, where overnight on Monday they were supporting 115 people across 8 sites, which includes 2 new sites which they opened during the pandemic. They're also supporting a further 12 people outside of their accommodation elsewhere in the community. Of course, so that doesn't include figures that are extremely difficult to come by in terms of the unknown homelessness and people who might be sofa serving or living in very insecure conditions that meet the definition of homelessness. I can confirm that the homelessness review and strategy is due to be published in early October, which will be an important moment in drawing to our attention the things we need to do to help address this issue. But irrespective of that, I have been working with officers to include provisions for extra homelessness support in the next part of the government plan, which will of course be published in due course.
Supplementary, Deputy Pamplin.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you, Minister. It would surprise the Minister to say I've got the answer to my original question in front of me, where he stated it in June when I asked the question that 114 persons were being looked after by the Trust, and just to be clear, he did state 12 extra people in other properties. So there hasn't been much movement, and the same answer has been given in terms of the other numbers. How urgent is he treating this? We need to know the exact numbers from all the other charities, groups and agencies so he can have a ballpark figure regardless of waiting for the review. Does he agree how urgent the situation could be, especially after recent votes in this Assembly? Thank you.
Well, yes, sir, I obviously agree with that, and I believe it has been treated with the sense of urgency that it ought to have been over recent months. Efforts were stepped up in a way that has never happened before in Jersey in providing support for homelessness cases and bringing on the government side, bringing officers away from other work they were doing deliberately to help provide solutions for these people. And we've had a huge amount of success in helping take people who faced those emergency situations, which were exacerbated by the COVID crisis, into not just emergency accommodation, but permanent accommodation as well. And as I said at the end of my answer to his first question, this hasn't stopped me putting forward proposals which will come to light when the government plan is published for some extra tangible support for homelessness that I hope the Assembly will want to approve wholeheartedly when it gets to it.
Deputy Morell.
Thank you, sir. Secondly, in response to Deputy Pamplin's questions of a few months ago, I also asked the Minister what actions he had taken to reduce homelessness in Jersey. We can see that homelessness has not particularly reduced in Jersey. Would he be able to advise the Assembly, since the last time I asked this question, what actions has he taken that have directly impacted on homelessness in Jersey?
So I do sort of feel like I've answered that question when Deputy Pamplin posed it in similar terms. So we've had several months of extraordinary circumstances where the problems to do with homelessness facing people have been exacerbated, partly because of government government requirements on how people would move, etc. And that an effort was stepped up to mitigate that as much as possible, which I consider to be a great success in the number of cases that came to us that we were able to find solutions to. That's provided a really good base then for looking to what will be a homelessness provision during normal times when there aren't these sorts of restrictions. I'll just to add to that, of course, we did also ban evictions during this time. So, just imagine how bad things might have been had we not done that. So, given the extraordinary circumstances we faced over recent months, I think the work that has been undertaken has been a success. And I hope in the coming weeks when we can provide more detail on the new provisions I hope to be introducing once the government plan has been considered by this Assembly, that will show those further things we'll be able to do.
Very much, Minister. Well, that time brings the time allocated for this question period to an end. We accordingly move to questions to ministers without notice. And the first minister was the Minister for Economic Development, Tourism, Sport and Culture. Deputy Pamplin.
Thank you, sir. Can the Minister update us on the co-funding payroll scheme and clear up any ambiguity about what's been reported? As was originally stated, it was to be phased out by March. But can the Minister update the Assembly on what negotiations or any changes have been done in respect to funding and targeting groups who are really struggling and will struggle up until that end period? Thank you, sir.
Minister.
Thank you, sir. As previously advised, sir, it is proposed that the payroll scheme is extended until March of next year on a reducing basis. The plan is that September, October, it reduces 80% with a 30% detriment test to 60% contribution to payroll with a 20% detriment test. November and December, that would reduce to 40% with a 20% detriment test. January and February to 30% and March to 20%. So although I would stress that the government only has the authority to do this until the end of
For the benefit of those who may be listening live, we have lost the audio stream from the Assembly in response to my oral question. So if you are listening or watching the Assembly now, there is a technical problem in the Assembly. We are still live, and I'm sure once they've got that technically up and running again, we will resume. So for anybody listening, that is where we are. So apologies for those listening and watching at home. We'll be back soon.
Yes. We thank you very much, Deputy. I beg your pardon. Yes, I'll speak.
Good morning. Hello.
We can hear you, sir.
Commentar, would you say something into the microphone just to test it?
Testing, testing, testing.
Yes, and Deputy Guido, would you try that? Let's just try that one.
Good morning. Is this working?
Very well. We appear to be functioning again. The Minister was answering a question posed by Deputy Pamplin. And so, Minister, if you would answer that question again.
Yes, as previously announced, it is proposed to extend the payroll scheme until March of next year. So the current scheme contributes 80%, up to 80% of businesses' payroll with a 30% detriment test. The proposal is to reduce the percentage to 60% with a 20% detriment test for September and October, 40% with a 20% detriment test for November and December, 30% with a 20% detriment test for January and February, and 20% with a 20% detriment test for March, sir. The government, sir, does not have the authority to extend past the end of the year, so that's a matter for the Assembly, and that will be accounted for in the government plan. So in addition to that, officers are in discussions with certain industry sectors that represent those businesses that have been particularly hardest hit, sir, because of government guidelines and restrictions which have prohibited them from operations. And I would cite as one group, sir, events organisers who have been severely impacted because of the limits on numbers that can attend an event, sir. Of course, any decision there would have to undergo the full ministerial approval process, but talks are ongoing, sir. So I'm very much hoping we can get approval for some further assistance to those hardest hit businesses as we move into what looks like a very challenging winter ahead.
Yeah, supplementary question, Deputy Pamplin?
No, sir. Conscious of time, I'll allow other people to ask questions, but thank you.
Well, thank you. Colin Harbison-Saviour.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Can the Minister confirm that a meeting was held yesterday with hoteliers, well, some, to see how best to help and how the money could be distributed to help them, and why 5-star and 4-star members were asked, but 3-star and below seem to have been left off the invitation list? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. No, I can confirm that a meeting hasn't been held with the hoteliers, but there is a meeting planned to be held with hoteliers to present the ideas around a further support for the accommodation sector, sir. And I will also confirm that any representation of hoteliers will be fully representative of all grades of hotel and visitor accommodation. So,
Supplementary?
Yes.
Yes, well, I'd like to thank the Minister for that, and as it's gone out publicly, that I hope he sticks to that. Thank you so much.
Well, really, a supplementary question must be a question and not a comment on the answer, but Deputy Truscott.
Thank you, sir. The skateboard park has been earmarked for development on the playing fields at Lachinivay. Can the Minister advise or update the Assembly as to the current status of the project?
Minister.
Thank you, sir. The project is being ably overseen by Senator Palliser, the Assistant Minister. My understanding is that the project is progressing. I'm not quite sure of the current timelines, but I can provide that information to the Deputy or to Assembly members if they would like so. But I can confirm that the Lachinivay Sports Centre has been announced as the chosen site, and consultation. The consultation report was published in January of last year, sir. I will get an update for the Deputy on progress, sir, but I can assure the Deputy it is progressing. Thank you.
Supplemental, please, sir.
Yes.
I thank the Minister for providing the update. And obviously, the project will have to go to planning for consent. Can the Minister, in his update, give an indication as to when that will go in for approval? Thank you, sir.
I understand, sir, that a lot of the initial ground investigation work has been completed, the relevant ecological and other surveys, sir, meetings with States of Jersey Police regarding crime impact assessment and mitigation, and the initial sketches have been drawn up, sir. So again, I'd have to come back with the exact timing for the planning process, but I believe it's imminent.
Deputy Ward.
Thank you, sir. May I ask the Minister, what is the yearly funding from the government for Locate Jersey? And is he expecting that amount to stay the same, increase or decrease in the coming months and years? Thank you, sir.
Well, sir, Locate Jersey is not an independent or arm's length body. It is part of the department, sir. Their budget is in the region of £500,000 a year, so the majority of that money is used to promote Jersey for business relocation and for the high net worth programme of relocation. So we have seen a reduction in the amount of budget used over the past couple of years. So having said that, the interest in location to Jersey has remained high, sir, but it's constantly under review. But all the budgets across our departments are constantly under review, sir. But I do consider Locate Jersey to be an important part of the work that's done for economic benefit, sir, especially with the business location relocation programs, which play a significant part in and will continue to play a significant part in improving productivity in the new sectors of industry and economy that they're generating and they're producing, sir. Thank you.
Supplementary, Deputy Ward.
Thank you, sir. Would the Minister believe that the Locate Jersey provide value for money for the taxpayer in terms of its high value residents attraction and the effect they may have on the economy?
Yes, I do, sir. We know from the tax revenues generated and other sources of income, for example, stamp duty purchased on high value properties, that the high net worth contribution is many millions of pounds a year. I think last year, sort of in excess of £10 million in stamp duty alone was generated. That's without taking into account the income tax derived from the high net worth community, sir. So it does present a substantial return on the investment on the budget of Locate Jersey.
Deputy Morell.
Thank you, sir. If I could take the Minister back to my first questions of the morning that I had lodged in advance of the sitting. When the department chose an off-island supplier to run the National Risk Assessment Cybersecurity Survey, did the Minister or did the department take into account that island businesses would be asked to send important details and very sensitive details of their cybersecurity arrangements to an unknown off-island supplier? And if they did take that into account, does the Minister think that that is an appropriate thing for the department to ask of island businesses?
Yes, and I do think it is important because yes, and I do think it is important because the island-wide cyber security risk assessment is an important piece of work to protect the island and maintain its industries across the private sector moving forward. So there has been great concern, not just from in relation to the government's own cyber security, but the importance of helping and promoting the importance of cyber security to the private sector, sir, because if there is a breach, then that could have far-reaching consequences for our economy, sir. The survey, sir, is still available. It closes on the 5th of October, and local businesses are still invited to participate. It's almost providing a free support and audit service for private sectors to provide the advice for them to strengthen their cyber security provisions, sir. And yes, as part of the tender process, the credentials were very carefully checked of the winning company, sir. So we have full confidence in the confidentiality of the service they're providing.
Supplementary, Deputy.
Thank you, sir. It is irrelevant to whether the Minister has full confidence in the company providing the service. The issue is, did the Minister not think it strange that local businesses would be asked to break one of the cardinal rules of cybersecurity and send their cybersecurity details to a company that they were not aware of and were not provided any technical information about with regard to maintaining the safety of their cybersecurity credentials? Did the Minister not think that that was an inopportune thing to ask of island businesses?
No, sir, I actually don't. I think it was completely appropriate given the nature of the survey that is being conducted. And I didn't mean to say that I was satisfied, although I should rephrase that so that I have confidence in the process that was deployed in the selection of the successful companies, sir, and in the work they are carrying out. There are certainly no breaches of data protection, and there are certainly no cybersecurity issues that are being breached that or are or should be a reason for concern, given that given the due diligence that is being carried out on the company that's performing the survey, sir.
Thank you, sir. Will the Minister advise the Assembly whether he has had any discussions or meetings with Green Air, which intends to supply electric aviation to Jersey, Guernsey and Alderney in the near future?
No, sir, not as yet. So I don't recall even or having been approached, sir, but I would be happy to discuss any potential opportunities for the island, sir, but nothing as yet.
Supplementary, sir.
Yes, definitely. And
would the Minister be considering making any loans available to Green Air, as was the case with Blue Islands?
That's not an issue that's come before ministers, as I understand it, as yet, sir. And I think, well, rather than comment further, sir, there's been no approach as far as I'm aware, and no considerations have been given.
Deputy Sutton.
Thank you, sir. Would the Minister inform members whether he has engaged in any discussions with Jersey Gas about the relationship between his department or between the states and Jersey Gas in the light of the relatively recent rise in gas prices as a result of a breakdown of communications with the department?
So we have not had any breakdown of communications with Jersey Gas. We have maintained a regular dialogue with the company throughout the pandemic. So, and I have met with the new chief executive, and I would suggest we've had what I would describe as a productive meeting, sir. Our intention to stay in close contact. I've made my position clear to the chief exec. We expressed our disappointment at their decision to increase the tariff, sir. That we do recognise that they did also suffer significant detriment because a lot of their supply goes into the business sector, sir, and especially the hospitality sector, which was very hard hit at the beginning of the pandemic. Jersey Gas have confirmed they are committed to Jersey, sir. They see they have a future in supplying energy and expanding on their energy provision and the types of energy they provide moving forward, sir, and they have undertaken to keep their tariffs under constant review. We'll be continuing that dialogue, sir. We do have certain responsibilities and power under the Jersey Gas law, but would be reluctant to use those, sir, given the circumstances and given the level of detriment that Jersey Gas has suffered during the pandemic, sir.
That brings the period allocated for this period of questions from the Minister to an end. The next Minister is the Minister for the Environment. Deputy Aye.
Thank you, sir. What actions will the Minister take to protect Lavelle Andre from development if the hospital is built at Overdale?
Well, sir, well, first of all, to say is that as the Minister, I have kept entirely out of the site selection process for the new hospital, because at the end of the day, under Article 12 of the planning law, it will be myself, under the current law, that has to make the decision on the inspector's report after the inspector's inquiry. I would expect that any issues in terms of impact of the development, wherever it is, irrespective of the place that the deputy named, will be included within the inquiry in accordance with the principles of the supplementary planning guidance. The supplementary planning guidance, which I was asked to issue by the team, provides, if you like, the advice for applicants. And on that particular point, it points out that there will need to be an environmental impact assessment of the impact on surrounding properties wherever it is, and also the possibility of mitigating measures. In the absence of mitigating measures being able to work, the supplementary planning guidance requires that acquisition of the properties it would be regarded as a suitable alternative. So therefore, that's the general advice I've given. I can't give any comments about the particular site. I think it depends entirely what site the state agrees, and I shall have no part in that decision, sir. Thank you.
Supplementary, Deputy.
Yes, please, sir. Is the Minister aware of any endangered local species residing in La Velle-André?
Well, there's no question. I think that it could be a number of sites where there are going to be impact on wildlife, and part of the requirements of a planning application, and if it's necessary to develop into areas where there are potentially that is an issue, then that needs to be formed part of any assessment that takes place as part of the application. And of course, that will probably need surveys of species and so on to be able to establish that, which is obviously going to take some time. And so those are all factors that would have to be taken into account of on any particular site. But at the end of the day, I think the supplementary planning guidance makes it plain there is no perfect site for the hospital in Jersey where there will be no impacts. What has to be done is to assess those impacts and make a decision or make a recommendation against how those factors weigh, the planning judgment. That's what the inspector's job is, and at the end of the day, it will be my job as Minister to decide whether or not to accept that or not.
Deputy Ward.
Thank you, sir. May I ask the Minister, are there any plans to reduce or remove duty on biodiesel currently being sold on Ireland? And if so, what is the time span for acting on these plans? Thank you.
Well, I say it has been discussed, and to be frank, I can't be sure it's been discussed recently, because I know that there's no question that advanced generation biodiesel, not the historic ones where there were problems, is potentially advantageous environmentally, but of course there are very big price penalties for it because it's in short supply, and therefore there's the issue of tax. I think I'd have to come back to the Deputy more detailed answer, because I know that there are trials taking place. And I've heard reports of that, but I think the issue about tax reduction probably is certainly an issue for the Treasury Minister and not myself. But there's no question, subject to proper assessment, biodiesel is capable of making a contribution. How big it is, I think, remains to be discovered.
Supplementary, sir?
Yes.
So given that this is really a small trial by one garage on the island, and this could work as a transition fuel as we make the move from polluting cars, would the Minister commit to taking this discussion forward to the Council of Ministers as a very small but simple action that can be taken to lower our carbon emissions almost immediately? Thank you.
I certainly take it forward for further discussion and consideration. Yes, sir.
Senator Moore.
Thank you, sir. Is the Minister content that work to establish a public interest test is now at an adequate place to assist him in deliberating upon any future hospital application that might come before him?
Well, thank the Senator for her question. Obviously, it's the big issue of the day, the hospitals. I've explained my general position on it. But of course, that is why I put an enormous amount of effort into the supplementary planning guidance. Spent a lot of time to get it right. Some may consider it long and boring, but it contains all the factors in there that would be relevant. I think what I would say to the Deputy is the entire planning process is done in the public interest. All the issues are in the matter of public interest. Obviously, there is universality. We need a hospital. The community needs it. So that is a strong plus point in the public interest. There are also the negative assessments which may occur on individual sites. And because the Senator knows I am not party to those site selection process, those judgments, that whatever is decided will have to be evaluated in the process I've just described. So I'm quite clear. The public interest test is very clear. It's the weighing the various planning factors. In the past, previous decisions went against because the factors against were overwhelmingly exceeded the positives. But, you know, that judgment remains to be made on the new proposal.
Supplementary, sir.
Yes.
I thank the Minister for his answer and would like him to clarify that he did therefore apply the public interest test in his mind when he determined the previous application.
Well, absolutely, sir. In fact, I think, you know, we could go back over this, but of course I did made extensive statements at the time to explain, set out what the factors were. And of course, I remind the Senator that there was a very clear recommendation for the inspector, which was cleverly worded. And I think I dealt with that in the answers at the time. That shows that, in effect, there is no, if the Senator is looking for an overriding policy on the public interest, of course the planning decision can make that, but one cannot override all the other factors. And I think other members are almost certainly going to, you know, those factors are likely to emerge, and members are raising them already, even before we get to the site selection. But I'm confident the process is robust. What I hope is that the team that's producing the application follow the supplementary planning guidance, because if that's done, that will help us make the best decision.
Deputy St Martin.
Thank you, sir. Could I ask the Minister if he had any plans to increase the opportunities for islanders, both private and commercial, to increase the amount of sustainable energy they produce on site?
Well, I think we do have a policy. I think what the Deputy is probably referring to situations where, for example, solar panels and so on. Certainly, I know that we've had approaches. At the moment, there is a general policy which enables them to be weighed, but there's a number of safeguards in there. I think what the moment those planning applications are going forward to the planning committee, they've been decided by the planning application, they're being judged on the current policy. I think it's clear that the new policy will need to be revised and improved as part of the island plan and as part of the carbon neutral proposal. But I'll be frank, I personally would not want to see the fields of Jersey covered in solar panel arrays. I think we should be able to make use of roof spaces and others on industrial buildings and indeed people's homes, because I think that's where we need. But that's my personal views. The process is revised policies and the carbon neutral work. So I think it's a question of what's the space, sir.
I'm grateful for the answer, sir.
Very much. Constable St Blood.
Thank you. So in a previous answer, the Minister suggested with regard to the hospital development that I believe in answers to questions back in early on last year with regard to Gloucester Street, he suggested that he was not comfortable with making the decision on the siting of the hospital. Could he confirm that in the light of supplementary guidelines that he suggested, that he will be content to be the final arbitrator when this project comes to his desk, as and when it does? Thank you, sir.
Thank the Conitard. Yes, I did express that view, and I certainly was uncomfortable because it was a very high pressure situation and a judgment to make, but I made enormous efforts, and I think I'm confident that I believe on that application I got it right. But I did say that I thought there was a case for having a change to the law. My answer just now to members was based on the law as it stands. I can tell members that I've signed a ministerial authority to include a widening of that responsibility in the planning law amendment, which I've been waiting for about 2 years, and I'm hoping is going to come before the States at the end of this year. What it will include is a recommendation or at least a change that decision can be made by either the minister alone or by the minister with his assistant minister and the chairman of the planning committee. So that's a proposal, but that is not yet articulated in a draft and will need to come before the Assembly. But whatever is the situation at the time, I will deal with it under the law as it stands.
I thank the ministers.
Very much. Deputy Pershard.
Thank you, sir. What's the minister's view on a policy that would dictate that a certain percentage of the island should always remain green?
Well, certainly it's my personal political aspiration. I'm not sure whether that needs to be translated into a mathematical equation. From my point of view, it's axiomatic. I stood on the basis of a policy which meant protecting our coast and countryside, and I'm absolutely committed to that. But I say we also, whether we like it or not, as an island we live as a community, and we do need to provide for community needs to be met. That's why we have a planning system, that's why we have an island plan. As we go into that process, the judgments on whether or not we have to compromise any area of countryside for dwellings is going to be a collective decision of the Assembly. After a planning inquiry, there will be a lot of conflicting views. I've always said that the hardest thing for any environment minister, anyone, to do is to stand in front of the Assembly and propose zoning and loss of countryside. That's not a thing I'm warm about, and I want to make sure we do that no more to the extent that is necessary.
Supplementary, Deputy? No?
Yes, please, sir.
Yes.
I just want to push the minister on this particular view of the percentage, though, because would it not make, from a planning point of view, a bit more give a bit more flexibility in the sense that as long as the percentage was maintained, areas could be rezoned for different uses as long as that the percentage of the island that was green was maintained?
Well, I think the last figures I have, I'd have to take advice on the detail of that. But I do remember that what the island plan process that's looking at potential housing needs and a proportion that might be met by possible zoning proposals, they certainly are relating those to the current land area. We know what the percentage land area is, and I apologise, I don't know, I can't give that number off the top of my head. My recollection, I think, is that around about 25% of the island at the moment is developed. But I will come back to the deputy with those exact numbers, and also I ensure the island plan team provided her with the estimate of what the additional zoning land, if it is required, what this, if you like, the impact potentially could be. I'll provide, but I think at the end, I'm in the hands of members. If members want to propose a planning policy that does such a thing, that can be done. At the moment, I'm not hearing that coming out of the process, but I'll ensure the team give that thought. But that's without any commitment, sir.
Very well. Well, that brings the period of questions for this minister to an end. We now start the questions to ministers without notice of 1 hour's duration. And the first question is Deputy Higgins has for the Chief Minister. Deputy.
Thank you, sir. Will the Chief Minister explain why he's proposing to delay the introduction of the Ombudsman law when, as the Care of Children panel, which is looking at redress in the island, is finding the whole system is totally inadequate? And will he, first of all, explain why he is not bringing it forward as a matter of urgency? Thank you, sir.
So the answer to this question was actually given at the last States Assembly, sir. And in short, as we've said with everything, we've had to look at all matters in relation to the impact of COVID-19. And I believe COVID-19 did delay some of the impacts, the preparation for the Ombudsman in any event in terms of legislation. But what it has actually also allowed, sir, is for the health side of the public sector to be brought into the scope of the Ombudsman. So the intention, sir, is to get the legislation in place before the elections, but obviously the appointed act to come in afterwards. Obviously, sir, if matters change, we can try and accelerate, sir. But that's the present position.
Supplementary, sir.
Yes.
Does the Chief Minister accept that by not having a proper complaint system, cases like the Al-Witri case, which they're going to be deciding the quantum of damages, he's already won his case, and it's a question we could be paying millions in compensation. Does he not realise that by delaying it, we could be losing more money than he's saving by putting it off for as long as he is?
Sir, there are a whole range of issues, as we know, around quantum of damages, and you will recall, so the Deputy will recall that was the legislation we brought in almost as one of our very first events, which was to reduce the exposure of damages by the public to claims. But he, again, so I'm not unsympathetic to his remarks, but I do refer him directly to the detail of the response we gave in the previous sitting, sir.
Well, Deputy Lehegra has a question for the Minister for Children and Housing. Deputy.
Thank you, sir. What funding have the government or support of the government?
Coming in, what's he going to go for?
So I've stopped as there was an interjection there.
Yes, if you could start again, please.
What funding support has the Housing Minister or the government given to the Shelter Trust in order to assist them in the extra numbers of homeless? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I don't have the number itself to hand, but I know that officers have been working very closely with Shelter Trust and have helped assist them in acquiring new premises to house people for emergency housing. We're in that awkward phase where the government plan has yet to be published, so we can't go into full detail of this, but I will be making proposals in that for support for homelessness charities in Jersey, but I can't say too much of the detail on that, but would be happy to speak to Deputy Lehegra if this is an area she's interested in.
Supplementary, Deputy?
No, thank you, sir.
Regards the question Deputy Pamplin has for the Chief Minister. Deputy Pamplin.
Thank you, sir. As the Chief Minister gave away, it was me indeed, and it shouldn't be a surprise to the Chief Minister that I'm asking about my proposition, P88, as amended by the government, where we were missing certain parts of that proposition. It's brought to my attention that stack minutes have been updated, but not up to the dates as of today. So again, I ask the question of the Chief Minister, when will my proposition, unanimously voted by this Assembly, that every single part of that proposition will be in place, which should have been in place by the 1st of August? Thank you, sir.
Yes, my understanding, so that the stack minutes are slowly coming online. We have been pushing for them to be at least updated, sir, and we continue to press. I do make the point, sir, it is that the stack body, sir, is made up of I was going to say literally operating clinicians, as in they do operations as well. And I think quite literally it's been workload, sir, but we have been making the point quite clearly that it is a States Assembly decision and it needs to be expedited. As I said, you have seen, members will have seen some movement. There is further to go, sir.
Thank you, sir. Just picking up what the Chief Minister said there, he said updated the minutes. If the minutes are recorded in the moment that they are, I don't understand, and hopefully he can clarify what he means, that interpreted that it does not mean they are amended. Minutes taken in the moment should be therefore present, fact-checked, of course, and I guess legally as well, that everybody is happy with them to be presented. Equally to scrutiny first, which still hasn't happened, as well as then publishing them online. I appreciate what he's saying, and I reiterate the point, I don't want to put pressure on our staff and workload. This is clearly for those with responsibility to ensure a proposition is fully succeeded. Thank you.
Well, Deputy, was that a question? Because your only ability to respond is to follow up with a supplemental question, not to make a comment.
Yeah, sorry, the question, sir, was the Chief Minister's statement where he said the minutes were being amended or updated. Could he just clarify what he means by that remark? Thank you, sir.
So I don't, if I used the word amended, I certainly didn't mean to imply anything, sir. I think, as I understand it, sir, bear in mind these are published, rephrase that, they're being asked to be published. I'm presuming there is a point, sir, where depending if the minutes had any very personal information in there or anything along those lines, they would have to be reviewed, sir, is probably the word I needed to use, to make sure there wasn't any breach. So effectively, sir, they're not Part B minutes that are being published. I believe that's the process, sir, that is having to be gone through. I haven't been terribly close to that process, sir, because at the end of the day, all I'm concerned about is that the minutes are published in the appropriate format. I certainly did not want to suggest in any shape or form that they're being amended in a negative tone, sir. But I do suspect there's got to be a review process to make sure that there's no breaches of personal information when the minutes were originally produced, we're probably not envisaging being published, sir.
Well, Deputy Taddy has a question for Minister of Treasury and Resources. Deputy Taddy.
Thank you. Does the Treasury Minister recognise that Treasury officials have no mandate to go against the P40 decision on arts funding, and that in fact they have the opposite mandate and duty to honour the state's decision for 1% of funding for the arts in 2022 and beyond, until such a point as the states has decided to rescind that decision?
Yes, thank you, sir. And I understand completely where the Deputy's question is coming from. And what I said in answer to question number 7 earlier in the day is that for 2021, the government plan has had to change some direction for all departments, all areas of expenditure. But the proposition P40 2019 was to be adhered to by 2022, and I don't see a problem with doing that, sir. Thank you.
So would the Minister explain why then that the figures I've been given for 2022 and beyond show a significant shortfall in the 1% of funding for the arts sector? And does she know the damage that this sends out in terms of a message to the arts sector when at a period when confidence had been building and they thought they'd turned the corner in their relationship with government?
I have to say, sir, that if the Deputy has figures for 2022 and beyond, he should not be revealing them because they are going to be in the government plan, which is going to be launched and published in October on the 12th.
Well,
so point of order, sir. First of all, I didn't reveal any figures, but the Minister hasn't answered the question, and I'd like her to answer the question.
I stick by what I said, sir, that I can't reveal any figures until the government plan is published in October.
Very well. Deputy Ward, you have a question for the Chief Minister.
Yes, thank you, sir. May I ask the Minister, given that a key part of our democracy is that all members have the equal right to bring propositions to the Assembly, would you agree that any delay or failure to implement any proposition or amendment to the Common Strategic Policy is a threat to our democracy?
Chief Minister.
Sir, I think I'd like to know what the Deputy is actually referring to, sir.
Well, so I could refer, if I didn't realise it was question time, but I'm quite willing to give it a go. I can refer to perhaps arts funding for the classifications of functions of government that hasn't happened, to sustainable transport policy that hasn't really happened, to the Common Strategic Policy Agreement to build a youth centre in the north of town, which hasn't happened, to P88, so much talked about, regards to stack minutes that haven't happened. There are increasing numbers, sir, of propositions that don't seem to be acted upon, and I raise it as a genuine concern of those who are non-executive members of the Assembly. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. And thank the Deputy for the clarification. So there are a variety of issues in there which are to be included in the government plan. So I think there needs to be a recognition from the Deputy that when, and as I said, the members will see the impacts of COVID-19, that in the event that we've had severe impacts, that sometimes one may have had to reprioritise. But the government plan doesn't get finalised till Friday. Therefore, the Deputy is obviously aware of other information that perhaps may have been erroneously fed in, because until that government plan is finalised, there are still conversations going through about how matters do get completed. What I will say, sir, again, and it will always be a matter of the Assembly, is that there are times when we have to make some priority decisions. And for the sake of argument, it may be a case, sir, that one needs to prioritise things like mental health and children's services versus some other more esoteric areas, although they might be important in the context, sir, of the financial pressures we are facing. But that will be a case of being finalised in the plan, sir. What we have tried to do to date is maintain growth where we can. Now, that doesn't mean it's the same magnitude of growth that we'd originally thought about, but there is growth in the plan detailing with many of the priorities, but bearing in mind the sheer impact of COVID-19. We are in a good place, sir, but in terms of financially we're in the island, that's important to remember. We're in a good place from a health perspective, sir, and we don't willingly go out and ignore decisions of the Assembly, sir. Sometimes there are things that take longer for very practical reasons.
Supplementary, Deputy.
Yes, thank you, sir. So the context of this is the constant referral by the members of the Council of Ministers to delay and to the impact of COVID. And so therefore one assumes, unfortunately, that one of the casualties of the COVID-19 is the democratically agreed propositions that we have in this Assembly. And it is still unclear, sir, and perhaps the Minister can give clarity, and that's my question, on how these decisions will be made, because we are not seeing or being involved in those decisions as non-executive members.
So I hate to phrase it this way, sir, but the fact that the Deputy is a non-executive member means that until the government plan is actually finalised, he won't see the outcomes, which is the nature of the system we deal with. In terms of taking account of the democratic decisions of the Assembly, we do our very best to take account, sir. There are times when the timing on that means that we can't deal with everything as quickly as we might like, partially because, sir, of, as I said, or mainly because in this year, the sheer impact that COVID-19 has had. So, for example, sir, we do want to see the SAC minutes published, sir. But unless members want me to apply unacceptable pressure to clinicians who are keeping members of the public alive and healthy to do what they would regard as an administrative role, sir, then, there are balances within that, and I'm not prepared to do that, sir. We do raise the point that we do need it to be expedited, sir. But equally, and as the Deputy should be aware, there are many other issues emerging around in other jurisdictions around us at this moment, and that has been the priority, sir. What I will be doing is, as we get to the government plan having been signed off in the Word format, which is what's happening in the next few days, we will get back to, obviously, the briefings that members were seeing before the summer recess, both for COVID-19 and obviously for the government plan itself, sir. And I think at that point, we need to look at it in the context of the overall plan, sir.
Very much indeed, Chief Minister. That reaches the point where it's normal for me to ask whether the adjournment is proposed.
Indeed, it is.
The adjournment is proposed. Before we adjourn until after lunch, lodged this morning have been the Draft Statistics and Census Amendment of Law Jersey Regulations P115 and the Draft Census Appointed Day Act P116 were lodged this morning. Very well, the state stands adjourned until 2:15.